Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Let's face it, shopping for insurance can be time-consuming. That's why when it comes to your auto, home, and life insurance needs, Make things simple and trust the experts at Allstate. They will help you get the coverage that fits your needs while helping you bundle your life, home, and auto policies. Bundling saves you money, sure, but it also saves you time, so you can enjoy the things that matter most even more. Contact me, Tammy Haynes, your local agent, for a free personalized insurance quote. Allstate, are you in good hands?
What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Random Thoughts with DVP and your host here, DVP. Today is the 23rd of June. You think I would have that memorized and be able to do this on demand? We're gonna have a pretty interesting show. I got a couple of guests coming in. We're gonna talk about this abuse and love thing. But before we get started, because somebody says, somebody accused me of always keeping secrets or not being totally transparent. So I'm gonna do something totally transparent that I ain't a big fan of, and it's my own personal vice. So don't get mad at me and don't get carried away. But as I said, today is the 23rd of June, and on tomorrow, the 24th of June, I just want you to know one of the best hosts ever was born. So tomorrow, I turn 56. And for those of y'all who know me or don't know me, my birthday is probably one of the best kept secrets going because I just don't talk about it. I don't really do nothing for it. I kind of just like to let it come and go in peace. But I'm trying something different because people be like, oh, people be wanting to do stuff and you won't never tell nobody. And I'm like, yeah, because
Right.
I don't want them to mess it up. And the one way they can't mess up my birthday is to not know it. So, that's my own little personal vice. But just because I've been challenged to do a little something different. Because I want to say we've done shows before my birthday and Roy never knew because I just didn't tell. It won't pop up on Facebook. It won't pop up on nothing because I always make sure that it's hidden. And because I ain't sure about how next week is going, the beautiful Trina Maria, her birthday is the 29th. So, we're gonna do a little something. We're gonna tell y'all what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a little something. Some grown and sexy shit. Trust the process. We're gonna have fun for y'all. And that's what's going on. So I just wanted to go on and get that out the way. I'm gonna let my co-host, when everything calmed down, I'm taking rain checks because Trina always called me a poser. But when it get a little bit easier to go out, I'm going to the strip club. So everybody who want to get me a gift, just say you want, say your fives. You can cash out me some table dances. I'm down for all of that. Cause I'm going to the strip club shortly. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to let y'all know because they say I don't never share, but I do. So let me get my monologue in right quick. As y'all know, or don't know, I'm sure y'all do. I'm gonna have to go on and do my political show soon because I see that you guys are just anal for no reason. And some of us won't ever be happy. Everybody was making a post about, oh, are y'all happy about voting for Joe Biden now? Like he did something Trumpish that would make us upset. Oh, see what he doing for the black people. See, he ain't did this. See, he ain't did that. And everybody holler they do their research. But they don't. YouTube ain't a research vessel. When all this first started, there were a couple of people who came on the show and wanted to talk about the crime bill of Joe Biden, but they never read it. They don't know how it started, but they blaming Joe Biden for something that he was asked to do, and he was asked to do by black people. And it was amazing to me how many black people didn't stand up for him who were still in the Senate who asked him to do that crime bill. But it's okay, because that's what we do. We let other people take the blame for stuff that we asked them to do because we don't want to get put on Front Street. So now Juneteenth is a national holiday. And you colors are still complaining. Oh, is that it? You know, most of y'all didn't really know nothing about Juneteenth before Trump said something about it last year. Most of y'all ain't never been to a Juneteenth celebration. And if you look back in history, you'll see that a lot of our leaders never even talked about it. But this is something our ancestors was been pushing for. If you follow the lady who been pushing the hardest, that she been doing this walking stuff, she been trying to get this done for a while. So now it's done. And instead of saying, all right, we done took another step, y'all complain about what it is and what it ain't. But if you pay attention to the history, if you do your research, if you do all of this, Joe Biden had said up front, he didn't want to do a lot of stuff with a presidential order because it could be undone by another president. He wanted it to be done and made into law. Therefore, it would stand the test of time. But y'all ain't happy. And the ones, it's funny, the ones who was asking, are you happy? They ain't said nothing because slowly but surely, it's been things going on. You know, I'm watching people talk about where's the hate crime bill for black people. And I'm like, where you been? What are you watching? What are you reading? Because Ahmaud Arbery, who was killed here in Georgia, was a black man. He was killed by white people who are being charged with a federal hate crime. So what crime bill is it that you've seen that don't apply to black people? It's like y'all want something specific to say for black people. And it's there, but y'all so busy being led by people who talk about nothing, and they say something and nobody ever checks what they say, and they tell you, oh, it don't apply to us. And it's always been there. It was never applied to us. And see, that's the difference. There are lots of things that protect us, but when we don't know them, or when we let these woke or conscious people tell us what ain't there, we believe them because we believe the ones who scream the loudest or say the most derogatory things. We don't check them to see what they say. So, food for thought. And I got my man Roy. He like doing what he do. We're gonna do a show on this. We're gonna do a show on reparations because I did some research on reparations because y'all love to cry about reparations. And I want, before we even do the show, I'm gonna give y'all a homework assignment. Look and see how many times reparations have been given out. Just check and look and see who got them and from whom, and then come back and talk intelligently. So quit talking about the Holocaust, Jews. If you ain't read the story, then you don't know what you're talking about. You just repeating stuff about who got it for what and who didn't. Because I'm gonna just give y'all a little clue. Look at the reparations that the Indians got. The Indians were given some land on their own land. Is that reparation? But people keep telling y'all what's got to be done, but there's nothing behind it. So, you know, with that being said, I'm waiting on a couple of guests. But we're gonna go on and get into our thing. We're gonna take a quick break. I see Mr. 976. He in his little comfy chair. He got the Black Mirror because they wouldn't let him get the gold one because you know the white man made him do it. and Roy got the screen blacked out, so I know he ready. So we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come on back. I'm gonna find out what Trina Marie is and my Dr. Dev at. All right. So come on, we'll be right back. Stay with me.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the college.
All right, and we back, and I got my guest here. I got the doc here, so let me just go on and give y'all a quick little setup. I was participating in a conversation, and it came up about spankings and all this other good stuff, and people were equating being spanked, beat, whatever you want to call it, to being loved, and I'm hearing them make statements about how, oh, my mom or dad beat me and I turned out good, and I was thinking to myself, just because you survived an event doesn't mean you turned out good because of that event. You turned out good in spite of that event. But, I'm just listening. And then there was this guy that said something that just hit me like a brick. And he said, tell me which whooping that you got made you feel loved. And then everybody started trying to change the narrative and started trying to explain the consequences of the whooping, beating, spanking, whichever was one they got. But nobody answered the question. Which whipping did you get that you felt love from? Because, we've heard the statement where people say, or parents say, yeah, I'm doing this because I love you, yada, 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 yada. And if you ever got a whooping, spanking or beating or whatever, I'm going to maintain what I said, and that's why I want to have my professional here, that at no point during the conversation after the beating did you hear love or feel love, because you were still suffering from that physical trauma. I'm going to let y'all have y'all opinion, but I'm going to tell you what DVP thinks, because I can't make this factual. That's why I got me a specialist here. But when do you get beat and you feel love, whether it's as a child, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's by the police or anybody? Where is the love from a beating? How many of y'all remember, fellas, how many remember getting that beating from their uncle or their big brother and you felt love from that? When your mama was hitting you or your dad or whoever, did you really feel love? Oh yeah, well I did this and I shouldn't have been doing it. I hear you. I ain't knocking that. My question is, when did you feel loved? Not when did you learn the lesson? And I'm going to even challenge your lesson learning capability, because the jail is full of people who got whoopings, beatings, spankers, or whatever. They ain't learned no lesson. And I'm going to stay focused on what I believe. The lesson that most of us learn from beating, spanking, whoops, or whatever you want to call them, we learn how to be sneakier or better at it. Because, and I'm glad, I'm going to introduce her in a second. I'm glad she's here because I need her comments on this. I made a post one time about kids having sex, and a child psychologist said if her 16-year-old daughter had sex, she was going to beat her and put her out the house. This is a child psychologist. Beating wasn't going to make the sex go away. So I'm trying to figure out how you even prescribing this, and she can't take it back, and I guarantee she's gonna do it again. So I'm trying to understand the whole purpose of this, cause, and Deb, I see you though, because when I let you have, I'm gonna let you have for a minute. So get your notes now, because I'm touching on a lot of little thoughts here. I think personally, beating, spanking, whooping, whatever you want to call them, they are for submission. They are not for love. And parents, I hear what you're saying, but when we resort to physical violence, it's because we don't know what to say anymore. And instead of learning how to talk down to our children, because they are younger than us, they may not speak the language that we speak. We run out of words and we want them to submit and give in to our will. That's not love. That's not love. So with that being said, let me introduce my people right quick. First of all, I got my usual co-host here, Mr. 976, doing his thing. He gonna tell us about this extinct jumper that he bringing back to life, his Jurassic Park jumper. We're gonna talk about that in a second. So, Lyle, tell the folks hello.
What up, everybody? How y'all doing? Doctor, glad that you're here to dispel some of DVP's myths, or his way of putting things or stating things. My 2 cents real quick is this always should be a conversation. If there's not a conversation, then it probably is a beating. There is no discipline if you have no explanation and you're not talking to your children about what's going on and why they're getting this. My one thing about love, DPP, is that because I love you and I don't want you going down this road, I need to give you this small deterrent so that you don't do this or make the same mistake again. Because as I said before, my 3 children that I raised in my household, they never got beatings, but they got those small spankings when they were coming up. So it was a deterrent and they knew what not to do. It didn't have to go to beating level, and I ain't gonna get into my question today. Hello, how y'all doing? Jordan is here. I'm here to help the Hawks win tonight. I had to put on my Bull stuff. They're the same colors, red and black, but that's all I got right now.
All right, we're gonna get to that. And I got my super dope producer hiding in the background. I'm sure he's gonna pop up when he do his thing. So I got Roy, Mr. JBN. He's sitting in the cut. Just give him a quick hello, Roy. I know you ain't gotta cut your camera on.
I don't know why he be hiding.
Hello.
Why you be hiding?
Hello.
That's what's up. That's what's up. He said,
I'm hiding today because I don't want nobody to think that I'm trying to be like DDP because, I kind of went to the barber and did a little something different.
Yeah, I see you got it coming out, bro. I saw you look a little cut up, look a little tight over there, bro. Looking good, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Ladies out there, what?
And I got my special guest. I postponed the show just because I wanted her on here. I got Dr. Dev on the show. We've been knowing each other for a couple of 1,000 years. So I want to bring some of her expertise to the show. So say what's up to the fam, Dr. Dev.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well this what's today? Wednesday. When you threw your birthday out there, I went and locked it in because I'm gonna rag you tomorrow. I just need you to know that.
About my banner that I ain't got, but we ain't gonna talk about that this show.
Your banner is over here. I hit you up early part of the week and said it's done.
The show is right here.
I know.
But
so
anyway,
you and I need to get together so you can pick up your banner because it's done. Okay, your backdrop is done.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
Okay. Thank you for the invite. And I remember I told you that when you call somebody an expert, they have to be getting that expert money.
That what you told me?
Yeah. You don't remember that?
I'm old and senile.
Excuse me?
I'm old and senile.
Yeah. Okay. So, but thank you for the invite. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Anytime.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
So
good.
Go on and tell me what you think about these spankings and love. And let me, before I let you say something, I'm gonna say what you did, Lyle. You changed it from love to explaining. And I ain't got no beef with you explaining, but none of them equate to love. You never beat them out of love. You beat them because you wanted to deter them from something.
See that you got the word.
Okay, well, you spanked them, whipped them. That's why I use all three: spanking, whipping, beating.
There are degrees. It's levels to this.
The mission is the same. The mission is to change behavior. The mission is to change. Why? If the mission is the same, the mission
No,
is.
it's a high degree.
But why'd you do it, Lyle?
To teach them a lesson, exactly.
To change their
deter
behavior.
them, because I love them and I don't want them going down the wrong road.
So,
yes.
Lyle, when you see somebody else doing wrong, do you spank them?
Yep, most of the time.
Yeah, whatever.
If they're grown and they not my kid, no. That's my responsibility.
So you only care about kids doing wrong?
Huh?
You only care about kids doing wrong. All right. Go ahead, Dr. Dale.
You always trying to, no.
Think about where spanking came from. Think about where getting hit with an object came from. I got a share of it. I did. Not because I was a bad kid, hard-headed. I just had that kind of mom. My dad never spanked, but my mom did. But think about where getting whippings came from. It came out of slavery. It was to make the individual conform, do whatever the master wanted them to do to correct what they thought was bad behavior. Okay? Be for real. What we don't do in our culture, and we need to learn to do, is dialogue. We need to learn to talk to our children. We need to learn. I've witnessed so many occasions where the first go-to is to whip, spank, beat, etc. But at the end of the day, if the kid has no concept of what this is all about, they miss the whole point. So my point is, if you got a kid in the store, your kid is in the store with you stealing, and you decide because you want to correct the behavior, you're going to beat the kid in the store, your mind is saying, I bet you won't do that again. What they're saying is, I bet you I won't get caught the next time. I'll do it a different way. So think about where that whipping behavior came from. It came out of slavery. Is it still useful today? You made a very valid point. We got people in the jail who probably got a lot of spankings, but no correction. And whipping and spanking does not correct. Yes, sometimes it builds up animosity for the parents. I've had experiences with clients where that animosity is built up so much that when they get to a certain stage or a certain age, guess what they want to do? They want to fight the parent. Why? Because I got my share of whippings. I got my share of beatings. Okay. So when do we make the correction? The correction can be done if I can tell you, let me correct you by verbalizing what I need you to understand, what I need you to know, what I need you not to do. I have two. They are adult children. I can count on one hand the amount of times that I spanked them because I realized real quick, wait a minute, hold up. Because what I'm doing is I am reacting to something that they did. So let me correct them by verbalizing, speaking to them, dialoguing with them, what the problem is. After about the 8, I never done that again. 6, 7 years old, neither one of them have ever had a whipping because I was able to have a conversation with them. Let me tell you what this is. Let me tell you what this looks like. Let me tell you what you ought to be thinking about. Let me tell you how I need to correct you. And the other thing is, if you haven't taught them what it is they need to do, then you cannot hold them accountable for it. Teach them what they need to do so that they can be held accountable. They can be held accountable.
And I think a big part of it, what we miss, is that kids by nature are rambunctious and curious. So we're trying to quell that. And that's why I say whipping, spanking, beatings, whichever one you want to do, they're all for the same thing. They're all to induce submission. There is no love involved in that because we don't know the words, which is why we don't do it to adults, but we do. Because we take that same thought process to relationships. And that's why people get into domestic violence, because they're trying to beat the love into somebody and get them to submit to something. And we keep perpetuating that same thing. And somebody made a post, and at some point, and I talked about this when I talked about Jesus and Christmas and all the other little things. At some point, it's okay to acknowledge that your mom didn't do as good a job, but you don't want to blame her. So instead of doing that, you keep going around it. You ain't got to say that your mom was a bad person. She did what she knew. We're in the age of information. We know better, so we should do better. So, I tell people, I got one whooping from my mama, and Deborah knew my mama. I got one whooping, and I ran away from home because I didn't feel no love. I didn't want to be there. Because you can't tell me that hitting me was the key to anything when a conversation that was all that was needed. That's all, because kids are naturally curious. Now, I heard what you said, Lau. You pop, whatever. And popping is good for babies. When they touch something they ain't got to, you pop them. Because they don't understand the whole love concept anyway. But once you get up a certain age, when is a conversation? And sometimes what we do as adults is we try to have adult conversations with non-adult human beings. And because they don't understand us, we become more frustrated, so we lash out. We don't try to find another source. We don't try to find somebody else who may be able to talk to them. We lash out because we want submission. I told you not to do this no more. Damn it, don't do it. Oh, well, I'm only doing this out of love, which is the same thing domestic violence people hear. I'm doing this out of love. When they not, it's for submission. There are better ways. And at some point, we have to adopt these and stop promoting the theory that I survived, so I'm better because of it. When we did the video with that little boy that got whooped at school, you heard people saying, his little badass probably deserved it. What? Oh, yeah, my mama beat me and she made me a better person. Tell me how. Tell me how a beating makes you a better person, because now we associate love, and that's what I'm saying. If you're going to whoop your kids, I ain't got no problem with it. Just don't have a love conversation. Let it strictly be about education and discipline. Don't bring love into it, because now you're crossing the line. I only beat you because I love you. Okay, Lau, have you loved more people than your kids? Did you love your wife?
Yeah.
When she did something wrong, did you beat her? Did you beat her for her to do better?
No, and that's how I didn't take it into the domestic violence or whatever like that. You said this goes into this, and we keep making generalization, and this will lead to this. No, it didn't lead to that, and it doesn't lead to that.
Right.
I didn't whip my kids that many times because I did it at an early age when I'm teaching them, and when they're on what you said about expectations, from them knowing what to do and knowing what to expect and that. I did at that age. So when you do it and how you do it are very, very important. I understand the doctor. She's seen some extreme cases, and some people, they jump out. That's the first thing they do is spank some ass and yell and curse. There's a whole lot of things I wouldn't even say to my kids that I see people cursing their kids out like they a nigga on the street, excuse my French, that I would never do. So like I say, I still think there is some place for it, but there is all these other examples, and with the examples that she gave are probably true. But there's, like you said, people in jail, probably had some whoopings. How many goddamn serial killers do we got who then had psychiatrists who've been talked to all their life? Sometimes they're not the same color as us, and we ain't going into generation. We just going into people who've have been talked to and all that shit, and go out and kill mass people. So talking to them ain't gonna always solve it either, because after those conversations, they keep doing the same shit over and over again. Come on, that talking ain't working either.
Loud, but listen to what you said. They're talking to adults who have already been whooped. All them serial killers, most serial killers have been beat. That's why they go after their parents. So at another age,
how many people?
Deb is a professional. Deb is a professional. She can't beat people no more. None of us should be doing it. Yeah, none of us should be doing it. But the beating, whipping, spanking, whether you do it in degree 1 or degree 10, the same message is always being applied. Be smarter, be better, don't get caught. Not change your ways, just don't let me catch you doing it.
Part of people are getting. That's what some people are getting. That's just what some people are getting because they want to keep doing this shit. The other people are, damn, I'm getting this tap or I'm getting this little butt. I better stop doing that. Let me go to school and pay attention and do the things that my parents are also speaking to me about, also teaching me about as they're doing this form of discipline.
But Lau, let me say this, because the majority of the ones that are doing the speaking and the talking are not doing the whipping. They are having the conversations. They are saying, look, this is this, A, B, C, D. This is the way you're going to carry yourself. This is the way you're going to act. So, which minimizes the need to whip. When you talk about people who are serial killers, we're talking about people who, and this is another stigma in our community, in our culture, mental illness. Because think about it now, if you got a kid that has spent the majority of their growing up years getting their behinds beat on a regular basis. Now, not just by mama, grandmama, uncle, the mama's boyfriend, okay? Because now everybody has permission to whip your behind, okay? All that does is instill that trauma in that person, okay? And it manifests into mental health issues. Quickly manifest. We don't see it because it's not outward. We don't see bleeding. We don't see cuts. But it's inward.
It's mass.
It is. And when it's inward, that's when you start creating the individuals who, I can't have a dialogue with you. Ask yourself why so many people are walking around now shooting people. Why? Not only with the mental health issues, but with that ingrained trauma that we know nothing about because we can't see it. We can't see it. We don't know it's there. We just think this is some dude just walking around shooting people. But it's something else in there. Am I making an excuse for them? No, I'm not. But when you say that, Darren said, DVP said, beating into submission. When you think about that and you turn it over
that should never be the goal.
A male whose mama, every time, because she's mad at the baby daddy, who she chose, she picked, okay, as the baby daddy. She mad at the baby daddy for whatever reason. You can count how many you want. And what she does is she takes it out on this male child. And in her way of taking it out on this male child, I'm going to beat your ass. I'm going to whip you. I'm going to whip you into submission. What that does for him is it says to him, when I have the power to do this, I'm going to be able to do this. I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm going to be able to do it to who? The woman that I'm with, the children that I have, or the children that she has, and I'm with them. And it just keeps perpetuating the same cycle. The same cycle. But unless you're able to dialogue with that kid and say, look, let me tell you, I had a case where the kid was acting up in school. The grandmother and uncle brought the kid. And everything that was out of that, okay, he's cutting up, he's acting up. Every time they would say something, he ought to be grateful that we took him in. His mama is no good. His mama is not this. Every other sentence that they said, this is what they said. And I eventually had to say, time out.
Hold up.
Time out. You telling him that you have said it 20 times just in this short time we've been together. But you keep telling him that. I would go to school and act out too. I would. Because you keep repeating the same thing to him. For what? You're giving him the ammunition to act out. Does that make sense? You're telling him, you're not worthy. You're not about nothing. So he finds a place that he can do it, and that's at school. He can't get whipped at school. They're not going to tell him his mama is not nothing. They're not at school. They're not going to tell him you ought to be grateful that your grandmother took you in. They're not going to say those things. So he found a space to do it. So when do we stop and say, you know what? Because we have every opportunity to change the whole dialogue. We have every opportunity to flip the whole script. When do we stop? When do we stop, take ownership and say, you know what? We've been doing this for how many years? It hasn't worked. How long we've been doing this? It hasn't worked. I got slapped as a kid for asking, why did I need to we hadn't been outdoors at my grandmother's. My question was, why do we need to take a bath? We haven't been outdoors all day. She slapped the living taste out of my mouth, literally. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. You know what I did? I did the DVP. I left. I took off. Where did I go? I have no idea because we were only spend summers there, but there was no love in there. There was no love in that. Okay, getting slapped in the face like that, there was no love. But when do we stop? When do we say, hold up, let's look at, we know better, we do better, DVP?
Right, know better, do better.
Each one teach one, DVP?
Each one teach two.
Each one teach two. 5 if you can get them. Okay. But when do we take ownership and say, you know what? This is old. This has gotten old. This has not solved a problem at all. When do we do that? That's my question. When do we do that?
Yeah, it's it's crazy to hear so many people say how, hi Deborah, how getting beat made them better. Like I got beat as a kid, me and my brothers, and after I got older, being able to look back at how we got beat, I can even say that I was abused. The only thing, probably not the only thing, but one of the things that I know for sure that getting beat did was make me violent. I was a very violent kid. I became a violent adult. I beat my boyfriends. I didn't beat my kids though. Crazily enough, I didn't beat my kids. A lot of people say, I love my kids, so I beat them. I love my kids so much that I don't beat them because I don't want them to be like that. Very hot-headed. I'm getting to a point now where I'm starting to learn how to control my anger. As small as I am, you might be like, oh, whatever. People would say, Trina crazy, but because I was so hot-headed, so violent. And I learned that, when, it's like they beat you as a form of submission. No, not you. I don't beat you. As not just a form of submission, but as a way of control also. Is to control you when they can't verbalize what they want to say and you're not doing what they control you. And I did the same thing. I fought my friends. I mean, man, I fought everybody. That was my go-to when I get so pissed off. It could be something as simple as you just not listening to me. You're not listening to what I'll need you to hear what I gotta say. I gotta make my point, and you going off, and I'll hit you because of it. I'm gonna hit you because I want to hit you because that's what I was taught. If somebody's not listening to you, they're not doing what you want them to do, you hit them. So it made me very violent. And I don't like that part about myself. I have done a good job trying to calm it down, but it's still a struggle. I still want to hit people.
And that's all I'm saying is if you want to use some form of corporal punishment, I ain't saying don't. I'm just saying quit trying to make it about a love thing. Admit what it is, because we either lacking the words because we're promoting continues. What did Tupac say? Our always wasn't working. We got to change the way we eat, we got to change the way we teach each other, because then it becomes a pattern and people don't see it because you keep people saying, yeah, I look at me, I'm better. You're not. If you think somebody else is getting beat is okay, clearly you're not better. You got PTSD and you don't even realize it because you think that that's acceptable, as opposed to saying, you know what, my mom didn't know better, but she meant it. She did it with goodness. She just didn't know better. I'm gonna be different. And I think that's where our cognitive dissonance comes in, is because nobody wants to say that their mother was wrong, because most of us love our parents. But at some point, for us to take that next step, we can't just say that you gotta claim who it was so that you can be better. Deborah know my mama. Everybody love my mama. But when she hit me, there was one person on the planet who couldn't stand my mama. And I left because there was no way you could tell me she loved me. And before that, I thought she loved me. And it took me a minute to even get to the point where when she raised her voice, or if I heard her feet stomping, that I wasn't prepared to leave again, because I equated all of that to impending doom. I can't hit my mama, but I can pack my little pillowcase with enough toys and honey buns and Snicker bars to get the hell on. So we didn't have no more whippings out of that. And she learned to talk to me. And when she couldn't talk to me, she reached out to find somebody else to try to talk to me, because she realized she couldn't reach me. And that's what we don't want to do, because, what happened in the house, stay in the house. Who is that good for? Because at the end of the day, as Lee said, what we're teaching a form of bullyism. When you can't get your way, just beat somebody into your way. When you can't get somebody, just violence is the answer to everything. And then we get mad when the cops do it. But hey, the cops do it, keep from going to jail. Oh, that's different. No, and that's why I said, it ain't a reach. if I'm gonna beat somebody out of love, then why don't I beat Trina out of love? It don't make sense. And what do we get to? We at a point where if me and Trina can't have a conversation, guess what? It's time for us to part ways. If me and my kids can't, if I can't reach them, I need to find somebody. Maybe it's a conversational gap because I don't speak child. And if I can't dumb myself down to speak at their level, then that's me being arrogant because they're not as smart as me. I have to dumb myself down and talk like they talk. And that's what a lot of us either can't do or won't do because we want the submission. And we don't say that, but every time we had a conversation, people start deflecting and start saying what the whooping, spanking, beating meant. But all I'm questioning is where is the love? There is no love involved in that. When you start getting ready to put your hands on somebody, as Trina said, she had to reflect. Deborah know me. She said, I was a fighter because, and I used to joke with people, you can't make me change. If you can't whoop my ass, you can't make me change my mind. Because at one point, that was a true mindset of mine. It was a true mindset. And I try not to say it as much now, but mine comes from work and other things. But it's what we started doing, and we weren't looking at the aftershock of it all. We weren't looking at people who thought it was okay. We weren't looking at, remember I told y'all the story about I dated a girl. I really liked her. And she said, you ain't never hit me. You must not love me. See, where did she get that mind? Where did she get that concept from? From abuse. And somebody told her it was love because it carries over. You can't hit them and say, I'm doing this because I love you, because you're not. You're doing it because they wouldn't listen to what you said. And you,
like you said, it don't make kids feel loved. Like I remember, my mom walking, she would just like walk by, just going down her, and you jump, because you're so scared of it. Everybody's scared. You getting whooping just out the blue. You don't even know what the hell you getting whooped for. And there was no, as Deborah said, correction. There was no talking to us afterward or telling us what, why did you whoop us or what. There was no lesson. It was just getting beat, and it was just like, damn. So then that's what, like I said, that's what you learn. You learn to be violent. And
Trina,
I don't know if that's a better version of yourself to y'all, but that's not a better version of myself to me. I think I could have been a hell of a lot better had I not gotten beat.
Yeah. And Trina, thank you for your transparency, because that's important. What you developed doing that was you were developing symptoms of PTSD because you were anticipating that hit, even if she was not about to give you one. And here's the other thing with that. When we do that, when we find ourselves that that's the response. Okay, I got pissed off at Kroger today. The lady in front of me did something really stupid. That's an instance. Somebody at work pissed me off today, okay? They lied on me to the supervisor. That's another instance. I'm driving home, person cuts me off, shoots me a finger. That's another instance. And then I come home, and because my kid has not cleaned up the bedroom, washed the dishes, something minute, okay? I now have four things that I'm pissed off about. And I come home and my kid has not cleaned up their room or washed the dishes. Guess who I'm closest to? I'm in the same space with. Guess what I do? My kid gets it. He gets the person from Kroger. He gets the person from cutting me off in traffic. He gets the person from my job that pissed me off with the supervisor. He or she gets all of that. There is no love in there. There is no love in there at all. So we cannot use that as a backdrop. I whip my kids because I love them. No, when I whipped my kids, I was mad. Right. I was angry at something that they did. I didn't whip them because I loved them. I went down a whole flight of steps at my son one day. And when I got down there and I punched him, and I realized what I had just done, and I had to step back because I wanted to keep punching. I wanted to literally keep punching. And I had to go back up the steps and sit in my room and just meditate on what I had just done because I was so angry. When I went back down there, I had a conversation with him rather than do what I was really going to do, because I was going to beat the hell out of him that day. Okay, I really was. I wanted to beat the hell out of him. And so because I was able to dialogue with them, I was able to dialogue with them as teenagers. Let's have a conversation. Okay. I'm able to dialogue with them as young adults now. Let's have a conversation. Okay. So it's not about love. It is about control. It is about submission. It is about, okay, you didn't do what I asked you to do. Let me beat you into doing it. Or let me beat you to the point where I bet you won't do that anymore. Okay. So we have to look at the cycle that continues to be perpetuated when we say, I whip my children out of love. Because the same way you can whip them out of love, you can talk to them, dialogue with them, so they know, I know my mama loves me, and I know she's going to correct me, but she's going to do it, or my dad, no, don't take that as sexism. My mom and my dad, I know they love me. They're going to talk to me. They're going to have a conversation with me, and they're going to tell me, you were wrong for doing that. And you're right, DVP. If I can't talk to my kids, if I couldn't talk to my kids, I would find someone else that could. Someone else who you respect and they respect. If you're not giving it to them the way that they need to get it when you dialogue with them. But we have to change it. We have to change that whole culture that I need to whip the ass to get them to do what I want them to do.
Not only do you hit your kids because they're the closest to you, it's like you hit them because they're not going to hit you back, and you know they're not going to hit you back. You know, right. you use them. They become your personal punching bags, because if that's the case, why didn't you punch the lady at Kroger? You know, why didn't you ram your car into the guy in traffic or whatever? Exactly. You know, make them pull over. You know, we don't just go with hitting random strangers. We hit our kids because they're weak and we can, and we know they're not going to hit us back. It's just like they become something to take our anger out on.
Mm-hmm. They're vulnerable. They're vulnerable to what we bring into the house. You know, they're vulnerable.
And we are selective. You know, we are selective because even you look at the Menendez brothers, a prime example. They waited till they were big enough to get their parents back, because there are kids who will fight back, because at some point they become the bigger, they become the aggressors, and all that pent up frustration that they got from all them years. Because sometimes, you know, some of us are lucky. It only come back in the form of where we verbally assault our parents for things they did in the past. But it's needed, because you got to release. To me, as an adult, you got to acknowledge who that pain came from, and you can still say, hey, my mom loved me. She didn't have all the tools because she wasn't as smart as me, and you can move past it. But I think us wanting to give our mothers passes and can't continue to do it because we don't want to say they were bad people. And it's okay. That don't mean they're bad people. I know my mom loves me. But like I said, for them 2 weeks after that whooping, and it wasn't a big deal. I want to say she hit me like 3 times. It didn't hurt. I just didn't understand. And she told me what I did wrong. It's cute. But why you couldn't just say, hey, Darren, you shouldn't do this, because if you do, this is what's going to happen next. You know, you're going to, not let me go outside. You're going to do whatever. But why did I have to be hit? That was just not a cool thing. And Trina tell you how it affected her, and other people tell you the same thing. Like I say, when the post came out with that little kid getting beat at school, and everybody talking about what he probably deserved, or he gonna be a better man for it, and people saying, "Oh, I turned out good because of this." You turned out good in spite of that.
Right.
You can't say you turned out good because of it. You turned out good in spite of it, and that's why you see so many more people choosing peace. Now, I ain't going for this timeout thing. And that was what the other race did. The timeout don't really work. There should be some consequences. But the consequence can't be a beating and then / love. If you're gonna hit them to learn them, tell them that. Let that go away. But don't throw love in there while there's physical abuse, because now you're blurring the lines. Because even if you mean well, they're still equating violence and love. And that's why we got to break the cycle. Violence does not equal love. Don't matter how small it is. And, you can't whoop a child and say, hey, I'm doing this because of this, but know that mommy, daddy still love you. Because now they still equate being hit with love. And so now we're instilling that in their tender years, when they're most vulnerable, when they're learning more things. So now they're thinking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, that, hey, Hitting somebody is equated to love.
Right.
And they carry that thought process on. They carry it on. They carry it on. When hitting should never be equated to love. It is what it is. And if you got to use it, take that part of the conversation out. This is why I did it. Then the next day when things are calmer, reaffirm your love. But don't reaffirm your love after you just hit me, because that's just not happening. I ain't hearing nothing you saying. What you're saying right now is total BS. It's total BS.
And you also do run the risk of your child raising up at you. You know, I could sit here and say, I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never imagine hitting my mom. I would never do that. But there actually was a time where I was about to fight her ass. I was about to fight her. You know, it's like I was 18 and I was just tired of it. I was tired of it. I couldn't take it no more. And she goes to push me and I turned around and she grabs a plate. And I just looked at her and I said, if you hit me with that motherfucking plate, and she's something in my eyes, she must knew. She just put it down. She's like, okay, Trina, like, we about to fight up in here today. You're not about to hit me no more.
Trina, let me share something right quick. When my son was in elementary school, this is what I noticed. Okay. It didn't take me long. One morning we got up, get ready for school. I drove him. Before we even got to school, I whipped him. I don't remember what it was about. Got to school. I got a call from the school maybe an hour or two later. He had gotten in trouble. Okay. That probably happened 2 more times. Total of 3. What I realized was when I whipped him, before I took him to school, that was the set of his day. Right. So when I dropped him off, he was going to get in trouble. That was when I started checking myself about, I'm creating this. I'm creating this. When I stopped doing that, no problem. I'd have a conversation with him. Listen, dude, this is the way we're going to do this. This is how this is going to happen. X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Drop him off at school. Fine day. When I stopped doing that, I stopped setting that whole scenario up for him to act. So it carries over. It makes you angry so that you look for others to lash out at.
Right. That makes sense because that's what, like I said, I used to fight my friends. Like, these are my friends, but I couldn't beat my mom. So I fought my friends. My mother whooped me one time for what? I got into a fight with somebody and the girl bit me. I got my ass beat because the girl bit me. Oh, you best believe the next day I went and found her and I texted that ass. I got my ass whooped because you bit me. Oh yeah. But it's just violence and just more violence and more violence. It's like, it just breeds more violence. That's all it does.
And it does in our community, because who are we closest to in our own communities? Right. People holler about black on black crime. You know why? Because we live in these communities with other people that look like us. Right. And so we perpetuate the same kind of behaviors in our own communities. That's how you have to look at black on black crime.
And we normalize it so much, we don't realize how we normalize it and make it okay. Oh, well, she probably did something. You know, you see a woman getting beat up. Oh, she probably did something. Because the first thing we do is make excuses. We never think intervention. And this is why, to me, it's so damaging to us. You know, we love to compare ourselves to white people, and that drives me crazy. But we can accomplish so much. But the first step is acknowledgement. We have to acknowledge where our parents went wrong. You know, and like I said, I hate to keep referring to them, but when I go back to, it's always white people or government doing this. The first white Jesus we saw for most of us was in our own living room. When the Bible clearly says what he looked like, but do we blame our mama for that? No, because we don't want to have to blame her for anything. But she didn't know no better. So now we got to teach our kids better. But you gotta have that moment of acceptance so that you can move forward, so that you can get rid of that what's it called, Trina? When your own thoughts are in competition with each other, because we don't want to ever say we don't want to say our parents was wrong. We don't, most of us don't want to say nothing bad about our mothers. And it ain't that you're saying something bad about it. You're just acknowledging that her lack of resources led her to doing something that was generational. Right. This is a generational curse that we can stop, and we can stop it easily, but we have to acknowledge it and quit trying to gloss it over. And that's what I say. In every I posted in like 30 groups, and everybody skip past the love and they start talking about the purpose of whooping. I ain't never knocking the purpose of whooping. I still don't like them, but the conversation about was what the guy said. Which whipping made you feel love? And nobody wanted to answer that. Everybody, it's like 5 people said, I ain't never got a whooping and felt love. I felt frustration, I felt anger, I felt rage. Ain't nobody feeling love. Once somebody said, yeah.
Even when they talk about, it, and not only does it not make you feel loved, but even if they want to sit there and talk about the purpose of a whipping, oh, it kept me straight. No, hell, it didn't. Look at a lot of these people in prison, they got their asses whooped. So how well did it work for them? It does not work. It doesn't work. And the reason that I don't hit my kids is because, like you said, it never made me feel loved. It make you feel the complete opposite of love. I remember my little brother, when he was 8, I was like 10, he wanted to kill himself. He was about to jump out the window. That's like, he didn't feel loved.
Mm-hmm. And as Dale was saying, we don't realize some of the consequences. We don't realize why some of these kids lash out like they do. It's what they know. You set the day up for them. You've already started that morning. Instead of getting that good Brooks we hear about, you start off with a 1-2. So that's his mindset. At 8 o'clock, he already in a fighting frame of move, because that's what that was his last gift. Not a hug, not a kiss, not I love you. The last thing he got was a 1-2. So those are his marching orders. And yeah, some kids didn't do all that. For some of them, it was a manifestation because they were waiting for the person that they could physically overpower before it came in, because that's how they saw it to them. I remember waiting till I could be big enough to fight my dad. I remember waiting. He was bigger than me. I couldn't wait till I was his size. The first time I saw him when I was bigger than him, I unleashed like 12 years of rage and hatred on him, because it had just been building. But because he was bigger than me and I wasn't stupid, I couldn't beat him into submission earlier. And that's the thing. And as I say, when people keep trying to gloss it over, there's no glossing this over. There's no glossing it over. But we have to accept some responsibility and go from it. Not keep saying, oh yeah, well, this gonna make them a better person. That's not how it works. Randy, I see your picture popped up, but did you check in? And Randy,
what I don't understand is, it's like we claim that we want change in our community. And it's like we want everybody else to change and fix everything, but we don't want to change ourselves. We don't want to change. We want to hold steadfast to these old things that's not working, that's not helping the community at all, but we want everybody else around us to change to make us better. We don't want to change to make us better, though.
Yeah. We don't want to do the work.
Right.
We want somebody else to do the work for us.
Yeah.
And I want to throw this in too. I was in a dollar store, and the mother, 2 little kids, maybe 4 or 5, walked into the store, and the mother was going in on the little boy. It was a little boy and a little girl, and every word out of her mouth was a curse word. Okay, every word out of her mouth to this kid was a curse word, and I almost acted like Deborah and stepped in to say something. And I said, no, just observe, just keep observing. So I stood back, and the next thing that she said to him, he turned around and used the same language to her that she had just used on him. I wiped my hands because I said, you know what? That's what needed to happen. Yeah. Because maybe now she'll recognize that, if this is the way that you have to communicate with him, this is the way you're going to communicate with him, you're showing him it's okay for him to communicate with you in that way. So that's like name calling. I had a client where did not want to go home. I had to put them in defects. You know why? Because she said, I get tired of getting called a bitch every day, all day long. So these are the kind of things that we perpetuate in our communities and in our culture, that you're right, Trina. When do we take ownership of it? When do we make the change? Because if we don't, nobody's going to do it for us. They're not going to do it for us.
They don't care. Why would they care?
Wrong. Go ahead.
I was just saying they don't care. Why would they care about what's going on in our community? They don't have to live in it.
Yeah. Yeah, because they want to. What we do is, I always say, don't give people ammunition to shoot you with. That's my favorite line. Okay, and so anytime the dialogue comes up about Black Lives Matter or police brutality, the first thing the whole narrative gets switched around. Well, crime in the Black community, they can't fix it. We're the only people that can fix it. Okay. Teaching people what a snitch really is, okay? Understanding that whole concept, understanding that if we don't do it, he ain't riding in on a white horse. He's not coming in on a white horse with a white night suit on, and it's not going to happen. So if we don't fix it, then we're perpetuating the same thing over and over again. And it goes back, Darren, you're right. DVP, it goes back because they didn't know any better. Our parents were taught the same thing. The same thing was perpetuated on them. So when do we break that generational curse? And maybe one of the next conversations that dialogues needs to have, what are we talking about when we talk about generational curses? Because obviously a lot of people don't understand these generational curses that we keep recycling. We are recycling those.
We're recycling them to it. And I know you've noticed, you guys are older than me, but it seems like each generation gets darker and darker and has less what's the word? Less respect for human life. They just they don't care. They don't care about life. They don't care about people. They just don't care. So on top of that mentality of not caring, we beaten. We got all this violence. We got all this stuff going on. How the hell are we supposed to get better with that? We're not ever going to get better. We're getting worse and worse.
And one of the crazy things is we're so in denial. Robert said, don't say black on black crime, say crime in our community. And we so want to veer away from it being us. Oh yeah, there's such thing as white on white crime. But right now this conversation ain't about them. And we keep, whenever it comes to us to take responsibility, then we try to deflect. And Deborah, I don't know if you remember this, but since I'm retired now, Deborah retired, I can say this. Deborah, remember when you had me doing our personalized Scared Straight program and people was bringing their kids to me? I never hit any of their kids, and this was totally off the book. But most of them needed to be talked to, and some of them need to be talked to a little harsh. But I didn't beat no kids. I didn't even take them to the jail. But the way some of the mothers was reacting, they letting kids say this because they're being bullied by somebody else, and they don't have nobody to talk to. Because I hear parents say, "Oh yeah, my child can tell me anything." Well, if you hit your kids, guess what? They can't tell you anything because they can't tell you nothing. Because you should have did this. You wait. You want me to have a conversation with you? Trina used to tell me the story about the little boy who jumped in a fight with a girl was getting jumped on, and the mother fussing at the little boy. They ain't your business, stay out of there. So what is she teaching him? Because the violence doesn't have to be physical. It can be mental, it can be verbal, but it teaches a lesson. Don't do this if you want acceptance from your mother. And whether we love them or not, we want acceptance from our mother, either because we scared of them, or because we don't want to get hit again, or sometimes, they actually are great parents. But it's the same process. Nobody wants to be in trouble. And if I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing because Trina giving me one message about do this, but the minute I do something, she yelling at me or she popping me, then where am I? I'm conflicted. She loved me. When she loved me, she hit me. And it's like, how do we get to that? And we become the bullies. And then Robert said, color ain't the problem. For us, color is the problem because we won't accept it. See, white people, since we love to talk about them, white people try to do that Dr. Spock thing and do time out. Black people were never trying to hear time out. White people at least tried to address the issue. But for them, it wasn't a generational curse. For us, it is. We got beat. Our history says we've been beat since we can go back in history. And we have not overcome that. And we keep doing it. And then when it comes to us, we want to make it a broad issue. But anytime something else happens, we want to narrow it down. Oh, the white people this, the white people that. Well, if our community is mixed, we can't say it's a community problem. See, if my next door neighbors who are Mexican ain't beating their kids, and Trina is, it's black on black crime. See, Trina ain't beating the Mexican kids. She ain't beating the white kids on the other side. So yeah, we want to be politically correct when we don't want to be called out. But when we talk about voting and stuff, we call out the white people. We don't just say GOP. We start talking about racist people, which is who? Because of course y'all calling out, we can't. But these are the things that we struggle with, and we so quick to respond to answer and not to listen, because the argument is legitimate. But if it means taking accountability and responsibility, the first thing we're going to do is run from that, because we don't want to be accountable or responsible. We want to have somebody else we can blame. Well, the reason I'm like this is this. See, for the longest, Trina could say whatever she wanted to say. But as Deb said, Trina took accountability. So now Trina got to work on it. Trina knows what the root problem was. But without addressing that root problem, Trina would have kept on being a victim / offender, because she was doing what she was taught, but she was perpetuating it. At some point, she got to just say, you know what? This is wrong. Let me step back and change me. You can't change the past. You can change what's happening tomorrow. And that's what we don't want to do, because now I got to act. Now I got to be responsible. Now I got to be held accountable. Now I can't blame the white man. Now I can't blame somebody else. So if you're still doing it, whose fault is it now? Because we grown.
Isn't it ironic how beating equates to love when it's our kids, but when it's our partner, we, in the same breath, we want to say love doesn't hurt. Pick a side. Either love hurt or it don't. It can't be both. Because if love hurts, then it should hurt from your partner too. Why can't that be love?
Yeah, and it's control. It is truly about control. And like I said, let's go back to slavery, because beatings were about control. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And if you're not, then this is the result of it. And whatever I choose to beat you with, this is what I'm going to use. But we have to address it in our communities. I tell people all the time, I can't talk about white people because I'm not white. Okay. Right. But I can talk about my people. I can talk about my people, and I can share with my people. And I see it. I see it every day. I see it where, we, as you said, DVP, you're right. We listen to respond and not to understand. We have a comeback, and if the conversation or the sentence goes this way, you see, and a lot of times when you make comments, you'll see that some of the sentence was skipped over, so they can comment on the last word that you put in this, because they want to comment. But if it is to be, it starts with us. It starts with us.
Right, and we got to. Trina made a statement. She saw a post the other day when we were talking about the village, and just off subject for a minute, and we were talking about, and somebody was talking about the bonnet, and people saying something, and people telling people to mind your business, or people telling people, you can't whoop my kids. Well, we want this whole village, but in this village we don't want people contributing. So what's the purpose of having a village if people can't contribute to the village?
Right. The village mentality wasn't about mind your business, I mind my business. That's the village mentality was actually very nosy. It was very nosy. I'm looking after your kids, I'm looking after you, that's what the village mentality was. But now everybody want to mind their own business. Oh, well, I ain't worried about her, I ain't worried about him. Like I was told Darren about, I was sitting on my porch one day, and I'm looking at my neighbors across the street. Little boy was defending a little girl. And she's like, what are you doing? That is not your fight. He was like, but he was hitting a girl, mommy. You told me, boys not supposed to hit girls. She said, I don't care if he was killing her. That's not your business. Like, damn.
Wow. So he got two messages out of that.
Exactly.
He got two messages out of that.
Conflicting messages.
Yeah. Very conflicting messages. You're right. I used to tell people, if you don't bring them to my village, because I'm going to correct them like I would correct my own children. And you're right. We have for years, we have gotten away from the village. And the thought of someone like you, Trina, sitting on the front porch and being able to correct the behaviors, verbally correct the behaviors that you saw. we've gotten away from that. No, they don't. We got people that don't want people saying anything to their children. And before I retired left the school system, I would tell parents, I'm part of the village. If you don't want me to be part of the village, then you need to remove your child from here now, because I'm part of the village. And as part of the village, I'm going to correct. I'm going to talk to them. I don't lay hands. Right. I don't do any of that, but I'm going to correct the behaviors that I see. But if we don't get back to the village, well, you see this is a result of us not being in the village, really. Okay. Her saying that to her son. This is part of us not being in the village. Yeah.
And sadly, that's what it's become. We, Darren and I have seen many videos where you'll see like a guy beating on a woman or for whatever reason, doesn't necessarily have to be his girlfriend. Oh, that's what she get. That's what she, the first thing, the only thing we do is pull out our phones. Like, it's like, damn, what happened to men protecting the women in the community? It don't have to be your woman. And now it's like, you ask the question, how come men don't protect women? And it's like, oh, well, she ain't my woman. She ain't my woman. So you got to be having sex with her just for you to, and then you turn around. And I don't want to change subject, but it's like, then you turn around and you want that respect from us. You can't get the respect from us and then leave us high and dry at the same time.
Yeah.
But I know I'm veering away from the topic, but
I think I think he has talked about that before. That particular topic that you're talking about, Trina, before, but I'm gonna let you go ahead, DVP.
But you're not, because we do the same thing with kids, and then we want respect from them. And what we're doing is we're inducing fear. We're not inducing respect. And for us, sometimes we fail to see that they're not parallel. I know, me and Deborah work together. I know there were people who claimed to respect me, but it was fear. That's why they treated me a certain way. There was no respect going, and I would be stupid to sit there and think they was, because I would fight. I would fight against the system. I had a sassy mouth. I was a smart guy and wasn't afraid to show nobody. The Dubbers respected me, but there was a whole nother group of people who say, yeah, D this. But it was fear that they was living off of, because they didn't want to be my next victim, because I had that girl. And when you start talking about the respect from it's the same thing, because we think our kids are respecting us when in reality they fear us. Right. And Lee said something, it's why they won't talk to us. It's how come their uncle can molest them, because we've instilled this fear. I saw one case where the uncle was a molester, and they told the mom, and the mom smacked them. Don't be saying that about so and so. Well, damn. So for telling the truth and letting you know that somebody's harming me and you're supposed to be protecting me, I get hit. Not question, not why did you say that? First thing I get is a lick. So what you think they're gonna say?
Right. Why would I ever tell you anything?
15 years later, when it all come out, and mom or whoever wants to apologize, and again, I watched the story and I ain't got a whole lot of sympathy for him, but you can't help but to look at the abuse that R. Kelly went through that made him who he was, that came from a relative. So when that abuse starts, whether it's physical, mental, whatever it is, it's the same concept, and nobody knows until it's too late. I mean, hell, look at who R. Kelly could have been had he got help early.
Right.
Look at what, how much better person he could have been. And we don't see this. And a lot of times, going to what Lyle said, is once they become adults and we get to interview them because of the crimes they committed, because of the heinousness of them, you hear a similar story. My parents always hit me. My parents always beat me. So these guys can't wait to find somebody that they can dominate. And you look at domestic violence, which I did for like 6 years. Most of these guys who are doing the domination, they all sing the same song. I loved her. This is why I wouldn't let her leave. This is why I had to hit her, because she didn't see my love. So when you black her eyes, now she can see your love better. And it's that whole mindset, because this is what they've been through, because their mama beat them. Their dad beat them. Somebody beat them and kept saying, I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I love you. So now I'm punching the shit out of Trina every other night because I love her. I got a girlfriend who say, well, then you don't hit me, so you really can't love me like that. And what can I say? Shit, I guess you got a point. But this is a manifestation from us, through us, because We can say we want to about our communities, but ain't no white people in our community preaching this. You don't hear white people. Hey, what do we always talk about white people at the mall when they got them badass kids? Oh, somebody need to pop that child. So we ain't getting this from them. So yeah, it is black on black because it ain't. People, we don't see white people doing that. We blame them for not doing it.
Right.
We blame them.
Right. Because even though it may have stemmed from slavery, the white man ain't been in our households in a long damn time.
Yeah.
Stop blaming him.
Yeah. You're right. On a long time. But we have yet to break that cycle. We have yet to break that mentality. We have yet to move forward and break the generational curses. We keep perpetuating the same thing. And here's the other thing too. And I got to put a plug in for mental health and for counseling. In our communities, we reject the thought that we need counseling.
Right.
Yep. But many of us need to find somebody to sit down and help figure out why I do the things I do, why I act the way I act. Why is this way? Because many of us have brought that all the way with that garbage. We have not emptied that garbage can, and we bring it from 15, 16, 14. Trina, you were a little girl. We bring it with us into our adulthood. And if we don't empty that garbage somewhere along the way, that garbage keeps getting fuller and fuller and fuller, and we just keep perpetuating the same kind of behaviors and the same kind of thought processes.
Right.
So,
and that shit gets stinkier. It
yes,
gets stinkier.
Right. Yeah. We reject it because one, we don't want to be told that something is wrong with us. We don't want to believe that something is wrong with us. And two, now we have to be creative and come up with something else. It's nice to be able to just get angry and just go pop your kid and just release your anger that way. Now you got to come up with something else. You got to go run or go exercise or go do something else, but you got to get creative. And we don't want to do that because we don't want to change. We want things to change, but we don't want to be the ones that have to do it.
We don't want to do the work. Yeah.
Right. We don't want to be the agent of change because it's always easier to blame somebody else. This is what they did to me. This is why I can't get over it. And as we talk about, and Deborah brought up the mental illnesses. Hell, it took me a minute before I told everybody about mine, but I realized that a lot of my aggressive behavior didn't come from me. It came from something else. But if we don't talk about it because people think you're weak, because people think this, because people think that, then we suppressing it, but we blame somebody else for it because we don't want to admit it, because we don't want nobody to think that we're weak or this or that. And so we miss that. We miss that much needed conversation on how to get better because I'm good now. Shit, I'm successful. I'm a retiree. I got my own house. I got a wife. What does I got to do with anything? Because we learn how to gloss over things. We learn we try to push certain things to the back, but it don't take much to make them come out.
Right.
Because the garbage still gonna stink. Yeah. The garbage is still gonna stink.
Trina wanted to be a good girlfriend. I'm sure she wasn't thinking, I'm gonna have to punch this motherfucker in a minute. But as soon as something happened, it kicked in, and there was nothing she could do to suppress it because she had spent, and I don't know how much, but we unconsciously, I think, from my depression, we spent a lot of energy suppressing stuff that when it get to a boil, there's nothing we can do. That volcano just erupt, and we can't stop it, and we see it in the after effect. Because in the moment, it's an out of body experience. You don't realize what you're doing until you reflect on it. It's like, damn, what caused all that?
Right, because like I said, even though I know hitting people is not right, I still struggle with that. That's why when I don't like to argue with people. I don't like to a little Facebook going back and forth. That's nothing. But like to be in my face and just really argue with me, don't get in my face. I'm going to get violence. I'm not even about to sit here and be like, oh, I'm going to try. No, I'm going to get violent if you get in my face. And like just the arguing, the more I get angry, I know what's coming. I know who about to come out. She back there. I don't want to see her though. So like, just chill out. Just chill out. Unfortunately, it's a part of me. It's a part of me that I have to fight, and not all the time, because my life is don't piss me off like that, but it's still a struggle to not be violent when I get really, really upset. So now I've learned to remove myself from any situation that is angering me. But if I stay, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get violent.
And y'all seen her beat me up on the show. Now, Roy, play the tape back. Play the tape back. Y'all seen me get abused on the show. I needed you, Deborah, when she was beating me up on the show. She was throwing stuff at me, had me ducking. Hey man, I felt like I was in a war zone.
Not Trina wasn't doing that. I don't believe that.
Hey, and Robert just said Trina gangster. Yeah. But yeah, and, and like I said, it sucks because this is one of them uncomfortable conversations. And again, I will say this to the day I die. I love my mama, and I don't doubt that she loved me. Anybody who know my mama know how crazy she is about me. But that one instance almost caused a rift. I say, I just packed my shit and ran away. And Deborah said she ran away. Lots of kids have done it because they didn't feel the love. And I can sit back in hindsight and say, yes, she was probably frustrated because a lot of different things. But why should I have to bear the brunt of that frustration? I'm a child doing child shit. Children are rambunctious. Children are curious. Hell, if we're honest, if we were them people, Zura would be getting beat all the time. Y'all seen the show with Zura just come in here and do her own thing, and I be trying to get her to walk out. But I gotta realize she's curious. She likes to see herself on TV, even though this is my business. She want to come in here. She want to be with me, and ain't nobody who got kids can say their kids ain't showed up at a time they didn't want to be bothered. But you know what you got to do? You got to get over it. Because you brought them here. You're here to protect them. Even though you ain't feeling a certain way or whatever, you got to get that. And you got to show them that love, and you got to make time. You can't just, I can pop her so she'll know not to bother me no more. But then when I'm in my office and I need some loving, she ain't going to want to come in my office because she going to be like, shit, whenever I go in there, he going to pop me. And so, yeah, I don't want to generate that. I want to be able to do what the better parents did. We knew what that look meant. We knew what that look meant. That look meant I was well trained, but there was no violence. Because hey, when we got home, it was still love. But that look said, hey, remember that time. And but again, we survived in spite of, not because of. Because the look was for training. The beating, physical, mental, verbal, whatever, it's for training purposes. It's for submission. And for those of us who are lucky, you catch your kids early.
How did that look work, though?
Say it again. What you say, Lyle?
I was just saying, how did that look work? Because you knew, and I don't say beating. Everything that you guys have said has been to a degree, and I agree with all of those degrees that is way far out. But when you just said that you knew that look, but you knew what was behind that look, and hopefully, probably at whatever age, wasn't massive beating. It could have been a tapping, but you knew what was in place, so that's all it took at that time.
Right, man. That's what I'm saying.
Don't
I
always
can't
take a beating.
But that's what I'm saying. It's some things you can do early. Yeah, when we touch that stove. See, my grandma was smart. She didn't hit me for touching that stove. She let me touch that stove and figure out for myself it was too damn hot. I ain't touch it no more. But with little kids, when they do little things, when my kids were small and I had a gun, if they touched the gun because I left it in my room and they touched it, yeah, I gave them a pop. And really, it's no different. Except I wanted instant gratification because I could have still sat them down and taught them and told them to err their ways. See, I can't make it be no better because I only popped them. I only popped them one time, but But my first thing wasn't to say, "Hey, don't touch daddy's gun," yada 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 yada. My first instinct was to pop them because that was what I knew. So looking at it in hindsight, I would still say I was wrong. I never gave them the chance to talk to them. See, that was on me. And that's what we have to accept some responsibility. Have you tried talking to your kids and they just at a point where they ain't gonna understand nothing? Nothing. Then you may have to find another way to communicate with them, be it another person, be it whatever. Shit, sometimes we're here. Trina got 2 daughters that I raised as my own. Sometimes they understand Trina message better, but every now and then they want to talk to me because they understand my message better. The older say, Darren is usually calm. I like when he talked to me. And sometimes that's what you need. Sometimes Zuri want me, sometimes Zuri want Trina. We have to find out who's going to be the best communicator for where they are right then. It can't just be me because I want it. And we have to go there.
Speaking on the kids communicating to whoever, that's another thing that we do as Black people. We tend to suppress our kids are expressing themselves. We don't want them to express themselves in a certain way. You know, don't let them curse at you and all that crazy mess, you know, be talking all huffy and puffy, but it's like we don't allow them to be angry. If they do, we still expect them to talk to us soft, but you got to let them express themselves the way you have to let them be them. And you may not like it, but you know, they will not ever come and talk to you if you don't let them express themselves the way that they, you know, the way that they feel it in that moment. Let them feel passion. Let them feel anger. It's okay. You know,
go ahead, I'm
you
sorry.
breathe too hard and you stomp and walk away, you know, you got your ass beat for that. You know, I let my daddy just get the hell out of my face. I don't care what you do behind your room, you know, when you close the door. But those were reasons to get beat in my world and in a lot of people's worlds, you know. If you roll your eyes, you get smacked or whatever, you know. We got beat for everything that our parents did not like. So it taught us to not express ourselves to them, and then they'll still turn around and be like, "Oh, my child can talk to me." No, they can't. They can't talk to you about a damn thing, let alone anything.
Right. I mean,
and it builds up resentment too.
Right.
It makes them resentful, so that anybody who tries to correct them verbally, they resent somebody saying something to them. Don't talk to me. Don't say anything to me. You know, and so it builds up a lot of resentment. You're right.
And you know, we were talking to one our daughter just went to the Army. She was talking this weekend, and she's like, "Man, this shit hard." And she's like, "Ooh, it's my bad." She grown now, but you know. But you got to let them speak. You got to let them speak in their mindset. You can't keep taking everything personal, because sometimes they're frustrated. And just like us, sometimes there is no better word than a curse word. You got to take for what it's worth. And, you know, you can't sit back and be like, "Oh, mama, you a bitch. I can't stand you." Oh, that ain't finna happen.
Right.
But if she's talking about something else, and that's the appropriate word for, you know, we don't want you using that all the time, but it's appropriate. We got to let that one ride. And that's what opens them up to want to talk. And if we beat that out of them, we lose a lot, because now, you know, we love to say, you know, when they kidnapped us, they you know, they didn't kidnap just people, they kidnapped doctors and yada yada yada. When you beat your kids and you make them lose that drive or that quest or that thirst for knowledge, you beating the same thing out of them, because they don't want to do more.
That, but you lose that bond. You lose the bond that you have with your kid, or that you may have potentially have with your kid. You know, when your kids can't come talk to you, there is no bonding. You don't get that.
And the talking starts after that baby babble is over. That's when the talking starts, to be able to have conversations with children, to be able to talk to them, to be able to give them the correct names of their body parts, to be able to call things what they are by what the words are, allowing them to be able to express themselves. Both of my kids now, because, you know, when I finally figured it out, they can come talk to me about anything. And they have these conversations with my clients who are teenagers and young adults. Sometimes when they're talking, they'll say a cuss word and they'll be like, "Oh, my baby, I heard it. It's okay. I don't convict you because you threw a curse word in there." Right. But giving them the opportunity to verbalize. But here again, if we spend our time not being able to communicate, I used to say, a person that curses all the time does not have a vocabulary. That's my thing. If every other word out of their mouth is a curse word,
you should hear
I have my own little repertoire of curse words. But if everything out of that person's mouth is a curse word, they have no vocabulary. Okay, so we have to learn when we're talking to our children, we're talking to each other, when we're talking to our children, that those are not the words that we need to be talking to them in. Okay, it's no way that you can explain a holiday like Juneteenth and every other word out of your mouth. And that's just an example. I just threw that out because you talked about it earlier. And every other word out of your mouth is a curse word. What are we doing now? What are we doing? So, you know, we have to learn how to communicate. We have to learn how to talk to our children.
And like I said, it's just so important that we accept these. I got my man Robert. He finally showed up. You know, he come
What's
late when
up?
he wants to and talk trash. Let me introduce my partner, Robert.
What's up, Darren? How y'all doing?
Oh, now he want to see. Now he act like he know me. And let me give a quick shout out because I've been accused of being a homer because I support him and his son. And I've made no shame about the fact that I'm not a fan of his son's music. I'm a fan of his son's artistic genius. He ain't making music for old people though. He making music for a whole different crowd, and that's fine. Hell, I will promote Robert music, but y'all know how I feel about religion. But that ain't got nothing to do with me supporting the cause. Robert got a talent. His son got a talent. Just because they ain't doing it for me. Robert ain't making songs for heathens. He making songs for Christians who want to listen to that music. The man can sing. His son, for those y'all that don't know, is Lil Nas X. And he do his thing. So, I be trying to get him on the show, but he always show up on Black people time. So he can't come at 6. He always want to show up at 7:21 and blame me. So come on and tell him what you got. Oh, and he's also the host of the show called The People Show. Where he
I'll be out and about, man, most of the time, man. You know what I'm saying?
That's ebonic for homeless, but I ain't gonna say nothing. What's happening with you?
But I'm just listening in on y'all, man, and just taking in what y'all talking about. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I don't like is the term black on black crime, because when you say black on black crime, you making the color, you making your race, the color, the problem, and that's intentional. The media starts saying it intentionally for us to believe that the crime that's being committed in our community is because we're black, and that is not true. You know what I'm saying? So I don't like the term black on black crime. That's why, I just don't like that term black on black crime, because it makes it color the reason why the crime is happening. That is not true. People aren't committing crime on each other because we're black.
And we're gonna do a show on crime, but I'm gonna tell you why it's wrong. Because when we do black love, we don't say black love. When we do black history, we don't do black history. It's specifically about blacks. So if this is something that's a generational curse with us, it ain't a generational curse with white people. So we got to speak on it in our terms so that we don't try to deflect it and move it somewhere else. We're beating our kids. As I said earlier, white people doing that timeout stuff. We didn't believe in that. We blame them for their bad kids at the mall. So that is a black issue.
I think white people spat a rod too, bro. That ain't true, man.
Did you see the double face? That. I didn't want that cake.
Don't believe white people ain't spatting a rod either.
But what do we blame them for? Oh, if he had a black parent, they wouldn't do this. So when they do it, they don't have the same complaints. And I use the Menendez brothers. They were abused. They couldn't wait till they got big and bad enough to kill their parents. Most of us don't do that. We act out in different ways. So yeah, we do have to make a distinction, because blacks and whites don't respond the same kind of way. We are, because we are in such close-knit proximity. Now we can talk about that on the whole issue, but because we're closer, we do act out more. White people do it, but they just do it in a different way. They kill each other for insurance. We fight each other just because of nothing else. So those are the differences. But we'll have a whole show about the racial crimes and the disparity. But when we talking about how many times did you whoop Lil Nas? I'm sorry. Let me be correct. How many times you whoop Montero?
Well, I whooped him when he did stuff wrong. I thought he was, when he was overboard, when he did something like unbearable, you know what I'm saying? But he was probably one of the kids that I didn't have to get on a lot. But I had some kids that I had to distribute that belt quite often, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I can remember the last time I whooped him and his brother. And I'm gonna tell you what, and that was the last time I ever whooped my kids. I think they were like 13 or 14 years old. One of my older son, LaMarco, what happened? Some happened in their room, and both of them, and neither one of them tell on each other. So I whipped Montero, thinking LaMarco was gonna give in and say, man, he wasn't in on him. So, but I was beating him so bad. I think I had like an iron pipe, man. And you know, I felt bad about it. I felt bad about it. You know what I'm saying? I did feel bad about it, and that was the last time I whooped my kids, man. They was getting older anyway, so I thought I was trying to give LaMarco a lesson. You know what I'm saying? But one thing about LaMarco, when he do something wrong, he gonna stick to his gun. He ain't breaking for nothing. And he didn't give in for Montero, and he let him got beat down, man. So, and I felt bad about it, because LaMarco was always the kid that most likely did it anyway. You know, so But that was the last time I did something to him. I whooped him.
You actually helped prove a point.
Iron pipe.
But I didn't whoop my kids all the time.
It don't got to be all the time, Robert. One time with a pipe is enough.
Yeah.
You see how we making excuses for it, and we got to stop that. That's what we got to stop. See, at least now, 100 years later, you can admit it was wrong. But that's what I'm saying. That's why it's a generational curse with us, and we have to stop it.
I didn't say the whipping one. What I used probably was wrong.
Right.
I probably should use the belt.
So can you separate the two, Rob? Once you do them, can you separate the two? If I hit Trina out of love, the fact that I love her don't negate the fact that I hit her. So you got to look at all of it is totality of circumstances. Once you do it, the message is still the message. We try to, and that's what I was saying. When I asked the question, everybody tried to explain why they did it. But the question was simply, where was the love being felt? Because what's your other son's name?
LaMarco.
Yeah.
LaMarco. Did he feel love while you was teaching him to be hard?
I'm gonna be honest with you. It wasn't about love. It was about you need to. Sometimes you have to instill a little fear, man. Sometimes being feared is better than being loved. You know what I'm saying? So,
see, and at least see there. Oh,
I'm doing what I have to do to keep my kids from going to prison. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. I got to do whatever it takes to keep my kid from going to prison. If they don't listen to me, if they don't get it discipline from me, the system gonna discipline them in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
All right, well, I got my other guest here.
But for me, it wasn't one size didn't fit. I didn't treat all my kids the same. I didn't like when some can handle talking, some didn't care nothing about talking, and some respected the belt. You know what I'm saying?
And it's like that sometimes, unfortunately.
And my other guest showed up. He is defense attorney, so he didn't want to come get none of this heat because he knew I was gonna talk trash. But I ain't even said your name, brother. Let see what I'm saying. That's why you can't mess with defense attorneys. But this brother Randy McDonald, I met him on Facebook, and I tell you, man, I like having intelligent conversation with total strangers. You get better information, and even if we don't agree, that's a good thing. That's how you meet people. So Randy he's a defense attorney. I'm gonna see if he's any good on one of my future things. But Randy had made a statement, and I talked to him first because I wanted him on the show. Randy said when I made the post, Randy said he got plenty of whoopings. Randy said he also did some things that he didn't get whoopings for. And I was like, if you got plenty, did any of them work? Because you kept getting them. So what was the point of getting them? And I wanted him to come on here and tell his story because he was so honest, and I wanted his part.
I got plenty too. I got plenty of whooping too.
Robert, you deserve plenty. Yours is totally different. Go ahead, Randy.
No, man, I earned plenty of those whoopings, and I didn't get a whole lot of them that I did in fact earn that she never found out about.
See what I'm saying?
But the fact of the matter is they helped me, and I think that decision though to spank a kid is very nuanced. And I'm separating the difference between spanking and beating a kid.
Right.
There's a big difference between what you do, discipline. If you put your hand on the kid's bottom, that's different to me. Sorry, Robert, that's different from the iron pipe thing. That's entirely different. One is
that was a one-off, man. That was a one-off, man. That was the only thing I could find right at the moment,
Right, because so you did it out of anger. It was out of anger.
My point is that those are two different things. So when I'm spanking my children, I do think I'm doing it because I love them, because I don't want them to go out in the world and commit a bigger offense. You said earlier, D, that you had popped a child for picking up a gun or touching your gun.
Right.
Or you had got popped for touching a stove. Those are the kind of things you only get one opportunity. It only takes one time to mess up on that.
Yeah.
If you got a gas stove and the kid messes with that, you only get one of those. So you got to get that one right up front, right then and there.
So, and that's why I said you get those when they're young in their formative years, but that's a quick pop and that's done. When they get older, the message is totally different because a lot of times then, as Robert just so eloquently put it, we're doing it for submission because Robert was trying to make his son be a snitch, but I'm gonna let him ride on that. And that's what I said. Okay, Randy, if a woman came and told you her husband was hitting her because she did something wrong, in your professional opinion, would you say, baby, young lady, he's doing that out of love, I ain't gonna take your case?
That's entirely different because
Well,
that's a child.
He didn't hit her
That's not
hard,
a child.
but he loves her. He want her to do right. He loves her.
There's a lot of things I do for my kids that I wouldn't expect to have to do for my wife though.
Because love is different.
The love of my wife is different from the love of my children.
So I'm curious. So the people who say that they beat their kids or spank their kids or whatever, so they don't go to prison, is it mainly a boy thing? Because I only have daughters. I got 2 daughters. Never have I ever thought about them going to prison. This has never crossed my mind. So is it a boy thing?
Yeah, because for me, I never whipped my daughter. I have never whipped my daughter.
Okay.
I probably popped her one time when she was young on the butt, but never like long drawn out thing,
Right.
So did you not love her as much?
Yeah.
He just didn't fear that she would go to prison,
Because it's not that's not what girls do. You know what I'm saying? Girls are not in the street like boys. But at least back then, they're not in the street like boys doing all kind of mischievous things. Like stealing bikes and stuff like that. Those are the kind of things my kids do. They was stealing other kids' bikes and what I'm saying?
Or they just learned to hide it better.
See, the only thing,
because they saw what happened to their brother.
See, the only thing about girls, you're just trying to keep them from them boys. That's pretty the only thing about the girl. You're trying to keep them from them hot boys. You know what I'm saying? But for boys, they doing all kind of mischievous things out there in the street that
hot girls.
That can lead to bigger crimes. You know what I'm saying?
No, go ahead, Randy. You got something to say?
No, so I wasn't afraid of my daughters going to prison, or for that matter, my son. But I do understand that there are people who live in a different environment than the environment that I live in. So if you're a single mom, and you have a son, and outside of your door is gangs, shooters, robbers, you may need for your son to fear you more than they fear those people. Outside of my house, I live in a lily white suburb. The most my kids gonna get into is a game of Dungeons and Dragons. So, like you need that kid. Like my mom needed for me to fear what would happen to me if I went out there and joined the game.
And even that.
Go ahead, Trent.
And of course, everybody is different. Every child is different. Like Robert said, he all his kids did not get treated. You can't treat them all the same. They're all different. But even with that, it's like don't they only fear you for so long, and then they don't fear you anymore?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
That depends on where they're from.
Well, they need to fear me till they turn 18. Put it like that.
Yeah, and by that time, you hope that
until they leave the house.
By 18, you hope that they have jailed in the person who they are, and that they will make good decisions without the need to fear you. Or at least, even when you're 18, you still don't want to disappoint your parents, though.
Right.
Okay, so when you got your first spanking, whooping, beating, or whatever, why'd you need a second, third, fourth, 12th one? What did you learn from them? Did you learn to be better at what you were doing? Did you stop what you were doing, or did you just why did you need multiple, Randy?
I needed many of them because I am hard-headed. I'm still hard-headed to this day.
And you still didn't go to jail, did you? You became a defense attorney.
I did not go to jail. I do think the spankings did help me in staying out of jail.
And I'm an only girl of 6 kids. Two of my brothers are like career prisoners, whatever you want to call it, and they got their ass beat. I'm sorry, I don't see what the hell one of them beat his girlfriends, and he goes in and out of prison. What did beatings do?
And Lee says,
well, it's like this. The first time I came in late, the light beat me. Mama just talked to me. The second time, I got a whipping. The third time, I'm watching the light. You know what I'm saying? So
you didn't learn that because you kept doing it. So you kept doing it.
No, I beat that light. From that
point
on. I knew Mama would mean business. She meant business. So I got to beat that light coming on to get to that house, especially on a school night. But my other friends, they didn't have that discipline around the house. They didn't have that discipline. They was able to do what they want to do. And most of them ended up being drug dealers and got charges and stuff like that. I'm not saying that's the reason why, but it could have been, might not have. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying for me, I think it worked for me You know what I'm saying?
And
I didn't start smoking marijuana till I was like 21. So I knew I couldn't go home smelling like marijuana. I knew what was gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? But
Lee says, so according to y'all, you can't keep your children out of prison. You can't keep your children out of prison unless you beat them. Is that the mindset y'all going with?
That's not full proof. I'm just saying.
But that's what y'all keep saying.
It was something it was an option you could do to help. It was something you put on their mind, bro. It's not that it's going to keep them from going to prison. It's that you trying to get them under your control before they get under the system control. You know what I'm saying?
Randy,
let me jump in.
Randy, when
Let
you
me
come
jump
back,
in on that.
Hold on, right quick. Randy, when you come back, this is what I want you to start doing. On your informational sheet before you take on clients, I want you to start keeping track of how many of them got whoopings. And then when we do a show later on, I want you to tell me what your defense, what your clients are saying, how many of them got whoopings.
Okay, and so in that, when you meet a doctor or a judge, I want you to do the same thing.
Oh, please, I do, because I want to know. I asked you a question, but go ahead, Roy.
So, okay, so the first thing I want to do is I definitely want to address what Robert said and what Randy said and the question that Trina asked. And I think that's one of the things that we really do have to understand as it relates to boys. And again, I will even go, just like y'all talked about degrees and Dr. Dad talked about degrees of how you do this. There is even, to me, a difference between someone getting a beating and abusiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't agree with you grabbing all kinds of stuff. Like, only thing I ever got hit with got whoopings with was either a switch or a belt. So I went to school with welts from them switches. I mean, it was what it was, because I did get whoopings too. Now, the difference is, though, like she said, with sons, we see situations, and I know we talk about the difference with the sisters and everything, and all the sisters that have been hurt and killed and all this kind of stuff. But if you look at their situations, those situations are vastly different than what happens to the brothers. Breonna Taylor didn't have the same situation as George Floyd. You know, the sister in Texas, she was a Sigma Gamma Rho. I can't even remember her name now, but the one that was in Texas, you know, they did what they did to her while she was in holding. This stuff.
Sandra Bland.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when we're seeing our sons, yeah, we're in a mindset that we have to prepare our sons differently for the world than we have to prepare our daughters. And so the reality of the thing is, like Robert said, this is the one part that I will agree with, and and I know it was, and this is because it was done to me, and it's interesting. I've got several whoopings. I got whooped. My daddy never whooped me. My daddy never whooped me. My mom whooped me, and both of my grandfathers whooped me at times when I did stuff that I shouldn't have done. Now, as I reflect on it as I am older, the conversations that my dad had with me were more impactful than all the whoopings I got. Because like you said, DVP, there's certain things you learn with a whooping. I mean, I'm sorry. I was that dude, Randy, you know, we probably got some of the same thought process. Yeah, I got whoopings all the time. Mama was whooping me. So I just got to the point where I was like, hey, so let me figure out how not to get caught doing this no more, or how whatever to do something. My mom, like I said, after all times my mom whooped me, the conversation or the discipline that I got that changed my whole perspective with my mom was when I was 8 years old and my mom sat me down. Cause see, I was that kid that would lie for no reason. I just like to see what people say. I would literally just lie for no reason.
See that?
And my mom used to beat me. What'd you say?
She said she could see that.
Oh, really? So no, but you know what? That's one of the reasons why I am not. I'm gonna tell you this story. I would lie for about nonsense. Like I wasn't out stealing stuff. I wasn't doing that. I would just lie about little things just to get under people's skin to see what people would do. My mom she was about to beat me, and she looked at me, and I was sitting there like, okay, go ahead, get it over with, because it'll be done in about 10 minutes. And then I'd be back on my thing again, and I'm gonna just be doing whatever.
10 minutes? That's abuse. It's hard.
No. I mean, it will hurt for him. It'll hurt for 10 minutes. Because and after the hurt go away, I'm done with it. So she beat me for a couple of minutes, and I'm screaming like she killing me. No, it ain't nothing hurt. My mom sat me down in the kitchen, and she said, "Listen, you have got to stop all this lying." She said, "Because if something ever happens to you, and they take me into court, and they say, Miss Evans, has your son ever lied to you?" And they say, "Well, he told me he didn't kill who y'all say he killed somebody. He didn't kill this person because he told me he didn't kill this person." And all they got to do is come in and say, "Did your son ever lie to you? And did he lie to you regularly?" And she has to say yes. She has a. So she said that was the thing when she could no longer be. And at 8 years old, I understood this. When she could not be a character witness for me as my mother, because I would have had a record even in her life of being lying, that stopped me from lying. None of the beatings that she gave me didn't have nothing to do with that. It was all the conversation. That was the thing that my dad did. My dad would come to me and he would sit me down and have conversations. He'd be like, "Look, boy, you can't do this because of X, Y, and Z." And then I would get punished. He'd tell I had my own TV. He took my TV out of my room for a week. Took me Atari from me. Wouldn't let me go outside and play. They learned there was discipline. And that's the thing that you got to get. That's what we have to do. And Doc, you and Trina said something earlier. And let me pull this off because I don't want Doc's face covered up on this. But we do have to get back to the village. And the key factor about the village is that people could correct your children. And if you want to be a part of it, there's a difference. There's a difference between disciplining and correcting. And there's a difference, you got to be that. You be like, "Hey, now you see, I see what you're doing. I'm going to let your mom and your daddy know, or whoever, I'm going to let them know, and they're going to do things that they're doing to get it straightened out." Now, as far as it got to the point with my kids, I started off thumping the hand when they was little. Once my kids started crawling, I started thumping their hands about not touching things. And Darren, that's what you was talking about. Because, of course, I can't sit down and have a conversation with a 9-month-old child and she gonna understand, or they're gonna understand. So yes, you pop them because that's the whole Pavlov situation. It's teaching. It's a learned behavior. Don't touch the stove for what they don't know why they're not supposed to touch it. They just know that every time they touch it, you thump them or you pat it.
Or you just let them get burned. Because I kept telling my daughter, don't touch it. We was living in the hood. We was living in the ghetto. I was heating up the apartment with the damn oven. Got the thing open, and she see the red coils. She want to touch them. And Janai, don't touch. And then one time I just sat there and I just watched her. I just watched her. I told you, now you know not to do it no more. But I have a question. So is it safe to say that whooping your sons is really, love plays a part, but it's more out of fear of what could happen to them in the future?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think any man will tell you that as it relates to disciplining their sons from that perspective. That was with me. When my kids were born, I tried not to whoop them as they got older. I did what I realized worked best for me. So I had more conversations with my kids. And I would sit there and I would tell them, thankfully I didn't have any major issues. The one funny story I do tell, my oldest daughter, had an issue. She was a smart mouth. I think the other thing that we got to realize, we got to know our children. Robert talked about it. Right. Robert, he knows the difference between his kids. Look, I knew my child had a smart mouth. I knew how she would get flipped with us sometime at home. So I'm sure that she at school, somebody who really can't discipline her, get off in her attitude one day, is she gonna do that? Well, what she didn't notice one day is that I was sitting in the teacher's office in the classroom looking through the glass window. And so she goes through this process and she just going off. And the teacher told me, it happened every day like clockwork. And it happened just like clockwork. And so I stood up. I didn't say anything. I stood up in the office. And of course, little kids looking around. They start looking around like, who daddy that is in there? And she just going off. And the little girl who lived across the street from us turned around and saw me standing there. And she went to grabbing my daughter's shirt. Sit down. And she was like, what? She turned around and saw me standing there. Her entire demeanor changed. What I was not going to is I was not going to take her out into the hallway and spank her for what she was doing. Because she had already been told not to do it. Because I knew the first thing I knew that would happen is that would have become a point of contention with them kids. They would have picked at her all day for that. And that would have become very detrimental to her psychological thought process on how to deal with discipline. And I just looked at her and told her, I said, I will deal with you when you get home. Teacher didn't have I didn't even have to say, you better not get into no more trouble. She said she had no more trouble out of her that day and came back and she had no more trouble because she realized with the seriousness of what was going on. So I think the other piece that we have to realize today too, I mean, y'all think about it. All of us look like everybody except Trina. Everybody except Trina here over 50. Look, we grew up at a time where the encyclopedias that everybody had in their house was the best way for you to get information. That's how you knew 90% of what you knew. That set of encyclopedia. Kids today have access to too much information for us to continue to say that I'm beating you because I love you, or that I'm disciplining you for these reasons. You know, it can't be. The answer to every damn question that we ever asked, or most of them, was because I said so.
These kids have information to all kinds of stuff that don't mean they reading it or even taking it in. I mean, hell, a lot of them still dumb as hell. They won't take the time to look it up. You have to be curious to access the information. So just having it really.
But parents got access to that.
Hold up a second. D, hold up a second. First, what's happening, Lee? How you doing? I saw the what's up, CJ, so I wanted to shout out.
Parents have better access to information, so they can't doing the same thing. And let me just correct you. Randy like 21 and a half. He been married 20 years.
He look young.
He had his first birthday. He had an arranged marriage. So he 22 and 3/4, but he been married 19 years. So
he's 44, man.
You're right. He's still a baby. So he ain't over 50, right? Don't give him that kind of credit.
We still know what Encyclopedia Britannica is, okay?
Exactly. He knew what it was when I said the encyclopedia.
But Roy, I want to touch on something you said a few minutes ago, and what I said earlier. Talking, dialogue, having a conversation, you know, being able to address it, being able to talk it out and speak to it, call it out as what it is. We don't do that. We tend to gloss over it, and we tend to use the belt whipping. I'm older than everybody on here. I probably had a whipping with everything that you could possibly have a whipping with. I was running away from my mom. My mom threw something at me, hit me on the back of my leg, and I fell on the ground, embarrassed as hell. And I don't even remember what the circumstances was. But the important part is for us as a community, as a culture, as a people, to be able to have a dialogue with our children, to be able to dialogue with each other, to be able to say, this is what it is, this is what it looks like, this is what it seems, and receive that, take it, be able to communicate it, to be understood and not to be responded to. My children, like I said earlier, my children can come talk to me now. I talk to other people's children because I sit from a place of, I don't judge you. This is a no judgment zone. I don't know what you're experiencing right now. Let's have a dialogue about it. But until we get away from the fact that I have to admonish you using being physical with you, this is the way the correction is going to come. We're still going to continue to perpetuate the same kind of issue, the same kind of behaviors. Okay. So yes, they have a lot of information right now available to them. It's not necessarily the correct information. It's not necessarily the right information. The games that are being put out there shows them other things to go on. I can say that my 30-year-old has not ever experienced the criminal justice system in that way. He's gotten speeding tickets, and that's a that's a whole nother thing. But being able to dialogue, what happened to being able to have a conversation in order to understand this is what the correction needs to be. This is where's your head? What are you thinking about? How are you looking at that? Because I may not be perceiving it the same way you're perceiving it, but being able to dialogue. So you notice that when you dialogue, when your daddy set you down in dialogue, when your mom set you down in dialogue, you had a totally different perspective on the fact that why should I lie anymore? Because if the person that is closest in my corner, my mom, has to come to my rescue, if she cannot honestly say, he's never lied to me. He's never lied to me. That was the dialogue right there. And those are the kind of dialogues we need to have with children.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And that's what my mom changed how she even dealt with disciplining me, because she realized that it sunk in. You know, she realized that it was effective. And you know, and my dad, that's what my dad even said it. He was like, no, I ain't never had to beat that boy to get him to do right or to do nothing. Because it was always a conversation with my dad.
And another thing, a lot of kids, most kids, they want to please their parents. So if you're not able to express to them what it is that you want, then they don't know what to do any damn way. If you respond all the time by beating them, they still don't know what the right or the wrong thing to do is. They do want to please you.
And we just got to get better at stopping this generational PTSD, and we got to get better at talking. And sometimes, you know, we gotta talk to our friends about their kids. And if they don't want the community, we got to realize we giving up, because sometimes, as we've noticed, that we've had to force things on people to get a better result. For us to succeed as a people, sometimes we got to impose our will on our friends who are still stuck in a generational curse, and they don't see it because they're making excuses saying they survived, that they excel because of, as opposed to survived in spite of. Because most of us could have done without them. I mean, yeah, and it's no different than anything else. Sometimes we receive information at different points in our life. Because as Roy said, one of the things that made me stop being a criminal was I had to lie to my mom, and I never really lied to my mom. But she asked me one day, was I doing something illegal? And I looked her in the face and told her no. 2 weeks after that, I was gone. I joined the military because I wanted to get away from everything, because I never wanted to disappoint her. And I figured as long as she didn't know, I was good. But when she asked me and I lied, that hurt me. And that's all it took, because I wanted her favor. But we didn't have to go through nothing violent.
I don't want y'all to leave this Zoom thinking
it's too late. It's too late. I'm gonna shoot you Randy number, because you done said Randy he gonna need a good defense attorney. He beat his kids with a pole.
Whipping was just another option. Sometimes I use I make them eat food that they didn't like. During dinner, you gonna eat the food you don't. That's your punishment. You gonna eat the broccoli. You eating broccoli tonight. I made them eat the food that they didn't like.
Savage.
Randy, I want you to inbox that. Randy, inbox that brother. He gonna need your services. Just inbox him, Randy.
But listen, that was just another form of punishment. Instead of getting whipped, okay, you eating the food that you don't like tonight. I'm gonna talk to you sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But talking for me, from my mama talking to me, that was like giving me the okay to go do what I want to do, because she ain't gonna do nothing but talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but the whippings, when I got to a point when I was about to do something wrong, I had enough. My conscience was saying, "Hey, you need to think about this." You know what I'm saying? But if I knew she was just gonna talk, I was gonna do it, dog. You know, I'm just being honest about it.
It's crazy you say that, because like I got a lot of whoopings as a kid, just for whatever reason, and I can't really say that.
It wasn't a reason, Trina. Ain't no such thing or whatever reason. You did something wrong, though.
No, not all the time. Not all the time. I'm gonna tell you
something. Told her you gangster. You gangster, Trina. You gangster now. You were gangster then.
No, I wasn't. One time I didn't change out of my school clothes when I came home. I took a bath. My mom seen my school clothes. I had went outside and played. Mom seen my school clothes sitting on top of the hamper while I was in the tub. She made me get out the tub. I probably was about 8 years old. She made me get out the tub, and she whooped my ass with an extension cord wet.
But But
I didn't do nothing wrong. I didn't change out of my school clothes before I went outside to play. That does not warrant an extension cord ass whipping on a wet 8-year-old body. Okay, so don't tell me that I'm doing something.
But you did know you were supposed to change those clothes though, right? You knew that,
I don't even remember. It was so long ago. But even if that does not warrant an extension cord whooping on a wet 8-year-old body, there ain't a damn thing you can tell me that warrants that. Nothing.
That was abuse, Trina.
Exactly. It was abuse.
It was abuse.
And I lost my damn point because of you, Robert. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
I ain't gonna sit here and let you lie on your mama like that. Mama told you.
I got more stories than that, but I ain't about to tell them all.
Everybody know you were supposed to play in your good clothes. You played in your good clothes. You knew that you wrong.
And like I said, that does not warrant the response that I got. The consequence, it did not warrant that.
Well, Mama saw it as disrespect. Mama saw you disrespect her.
I'm mad at you because I was about to make a point. And you made me forget.
No, I didn't do that. You can beat up. You can beat up.
Don't talk to me no more.
I'm gonna let you.
Robert.
I'm gonna let you.
Robert. No,
Robert. I'm gonna let you think about your point for a minute, Trina.
Abuse, Robert. That was abuse. That was
control. It was. In hindsight.
Okay, so what I was about to say is, you were saying that, it made you think about the whooping and it made you not do it no more.
Did you do it again? Did you do it again, Trina? Did you play in them good clothes again?
Huh?
Did you play in those good clothes again?
Probably.
No, you didn't.
The thing is, getting whoopings because. Oh, hell, I didn't get hit with a belt till I was 12. By then, I had got used to the sting of the extension cord. I got used to getting hit. That pain, it wasn't as intense anymore. As the more I got them, it was like whatever. So getting a whooping wasn't a deterrent for me. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want to do, and I'm gonna get what you gonna whoop me. You gonna do the little with the rhythm. Didn't I tell you? And I'm a and I'm a hoop and holler for a little bit as soon as you leave. I'm gonna wipe my little fake tears and I'm gonna do whatever I want to do because I got used to the pain.
And she wanted to break you out of there doing what you wanted to do. So she had to get you whenever she wanted to get you.
But it didn't work.
But she's not a horse. She's not a horse. She didn't need to be broken. She didn't need to be broken because that's like breaking a horse. Think about it. When you break a horse, that a wild horse, your intention is to make that horse docile and calmer so you can ride that horse. That's what was inflicted on her. She was being broken in order to conform to what her base using the whip, the whatever to conform. But she's not a horse. She's a human child. She's a human child.
I understand
that's trying to learn how to maneuver in the world. Okay, but what she got was the intent to be broken. And what that brokenness does is create a whole nother level, creates a level of trauma that she brought away with her from that age into adulthood.
Now, what would Trina be if her mama just simply allowed Trina to do whatever the hell she wanted to do?
But listen to the story. Listen to the story, Robert. Listen to the story.
You wouldn't have Trina right now if she just did whatever.
Listen to the story, Robert.
I'm not saying. Maybe her mama should have used a switch or a belt. I don't subscribe to a switch
wasn't doing what she wanted to do. Trina was doing what children do. Children forget. Children don't connect the dots. Children don't make the same relationship that adults make with what needs to be done. I don't want you playing in your school clothes, A, because you're going to have to wear them suckers again tomorrow, and I don't have time to wash. B, that's the only set you have until I can buy another. Children don't make those kind of relationships. So Trina had no relationship with the reasoning behind why her mama decided, I'm going to whip you because you wore those out. There's no relationship behind it.
All I know is I'm a kid. I want to go outside and play.
Okay,
I want to go outside and play.
Okay, you could have went outside and played, Trina, but you had Your mama said you got to take those clothes off to go
But
out
see,
and play.
you're not, you sound like you're not listening to Deborah. It's the reason, it's the reasoning of an 8-year-old and however old she was, a 20, 30-year-old, whatever. It's the reasoning, but the difference, you know, you have to, sometimes you have to remind them. Oh my gosh, if I beat my child every time she did something that I told her, I'd be beaten every day. I'd be beating my kid's ass every day, but I have to bring her back and remind her, Zuri, remember when mommy told you, you know, and this is why. I didn't get those lessons. I didn't get the talking. You can't just beat kids and expect them to just read your damn mind. You have to talk to them. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is talk. I am an intelligent woman. I was an intelligent child. You did not need to beat me. I was a Roy. All you had to do was talk to me, but I didn't have a talking parent. I had a beating parent. It didn't make me better. It made me violent.
This is what you missed, Robert.
I'm not agreeing with the whippings. All I'm saying, why did you go outside when mama told you change your clothes before you went outside?
You know why? Because I was 8 years old.
But you said you was intelligent. You was intelligent 8 years old.
Okay, listen.
That has nothing to do with intelligence, Robert.
But what you're missing, Rob, what you're missing is what I said in the beginning.
That has to do with being 8 years old. The idea that my friends are out, my brothers are out, everybody's outside. I don't think about the fact that I'm totally dressed in my school clothes.
Let me put on my play clothes so I can
Robert,
go out.
That's Robert. What you are talking about is the ability to rationalize and reason. Most 8-year-olds don't have the ability to rationalize and reason. That's 8 years old.
Not at an adult level, and Roy, I mean, and Robert, that's what you miss. As adults, we keep wanting to talk to kids at our level. We have to dumb ourselves down to get them to understand. As Trina said, Zuri does things that she is not supposed to do. But I got to remember, her priorities ain't my priorities. Yeah, I'm thinking at the cost of stuff. Zuri, kids are rambunctious. They're curious. She want to have fun as quick as possible. She ain't prioritizing like me. I can't keep making her think about the dollar value for this dress. I can't keep making her think about the dollar value for these shoes. You got other shoes to play in. We got chickens. She wants to go outside in the chicken coop with her good shoes. Wrong move. I know this because of what chickens do. I can't make that be Zuri's priority. And that's where as parents we fail, because we want to talk to kids as adults.
And you want them to be more responsible.
You got to come down to them. You have to slowly train them, because guess what they're going to do? They're going to do what grown-ups do, except they're going to make kid mistakes. Because, hey, guess what we do? Sometimes we come home and we so tired, we go to bed with our clothes on as opposed to taking them off. The same thing will be kids for, because we don't want to iron them. But it's okay because we're adults and I'm the one who's doing the ironing. So I can do it, but you can't. Their priorities ain't ours. And that's what we got to start making the connection. When I'm talking to an 8-year-old, I can't talk to her like I talk to Trina. I have got to dumb myself down and talk as an 8 or 9-year-old. Figure out her. Zuri, why do you keep doing this? I don't know. Well, you can't do this. And you know what Zuri hates? Don't talk to Zuri, because she'll be like, you're not happy with me right now, are you? And once you say no, see, that's how Zuri learns. But you got to get to the point of unhappiness that you learn to shut up. That affects Zuri more than sitting there trying to reaffirm something, because she wants you to talk to her and play with her. But when she knows that you're upset because of something she did, she picks up the message a whole lot quicker. I can't beat it into her. I gotta teach her on her level. With her I want her to be.
And it's like we want kids to be more responsible than they're capable of. I'm gonna tell you what that is. That shit is called lazy ass parenting. I tell you one time, I tell a 7-year-old one time something, and I want her to remember that and soak that in and be responsible every single time. Me not wanting, because I don't want to be like, oh, come on, baby, to change your clothes. Baby, you forgot to change your clothes, because I don't want to do that, because my ass is lazy. Instead, I beat her to control her, to get her to do what I want her to do, because I'm lazy. I don't want to repeat myself. Well, guess what? You goddamn kids, you got to repeat yourself. That's just what it is.
Should we let our kids
people learn through repetition?
Yeah.
Should we let our kids beat us when we late paying bills?
Over and over again. Yes.
Should we let our kids beat us when we late paying bills? Should we let our kids beat us when we doing something wrong?
No, we don't. Come on, man.
Most of us have been late paying a bill. That's a grown-up thing. We're grown-ups. This is what we do. So when we're late, should they beat us?
If you don't pay that bill, what's gonna happen?
Nothing. You got to pay a fee. But
you're gonna get shut off.
But what's that got to do with the beating?
You're gonna get shut off.
What's that got to do with the lesson learned? You got to learn to talk to him.
You learn the lesson. You're gonna be in the dark. You don't pay that light bill.
But it's 8:15. So if I get a nasty gram, Trina, I want you and Deborah to go last. So we're gonna do this a little bit different. Randall, are you still here, or you out trying to act like you working? Because I know he was driving.
I'm here. I'm listening to everything y'all said, man.
All right,
I just wanted to touch on what Trina just said, that it's lazy parenting. Sometimes you, as a parent, if you working 2 jobs, you're a single mom, you don't got time to be telling your kid more than once. All you got is that one time, because you might not see them again until the next day, late at night, or if at all. So it ain't necessarily laziness. It's just maybe that's all the time that you have.
Then you probably shouldn't have took on the responsibility of having a child if you knew you wasn't going to have no kind of time or patience to raise them.
It's too late for that, though. I already got the kid.
Right, so now they get blamed for a decision you made. See, again,
right, exactly.
we transferring blame. But what I want you to do before I get my little Instagram, Randy, go ahead and because where you practicing law at? You're not in Georgia.
Nope, no, DC, Maryland, licensed in Michigan as well, civil rights and criminal. Mostly do some personal injury as well. We're doing a fantastic job just bringing justice to the community and bringing justice to people. So, man, I definitely appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed it, even though people disagree with me. I do enjoy the banter back and forth, and do think that these conversations are necessary. Even with the disagreement, the debate is so necessary in our community. So, man, I appreciate you having me on.
Do you have a page for your law firm?
I don't. I'm getting ready to join up with another firm, so I had to take it down.
All right, well, let's get that so we can get you back and we can discuss some because Robert like to talk about civil rights, so we're gonna get you on the People Show, so you and I'm gonna have you back because I told you we're gonna talk about some more shows. But yeah, like I say, Randall's a guy I met on Facebook, never met him, and he said the important word. And I tell you this all the time: let's learn to disagree as adults and hear different vantage points and learn, because you only know the life you live. It may not be the norm. It's the norm of your circle. When you don't know people and you hear different stories, you expand your horizons, because you can see what you think is normal might not be normal for everybody else. And that's why we got to be open to the process of reaching out to people and having conversations, even if it's something we don't know nothing about. Well, that's weird. Well, that's just the world I lived in. And I want to thank Randy, even though when I texted him, he was talking about who is this, even though he agreed to be on the show and he called me first. But I ain't gonna talk bad about him because he's 44 and see now.
Man, it's all love, man.
But he driving, so I don't want him to get in trouble and have to defend himself for driving in Facebook, and even though that one kind of ain't illegal, as long as he ain't holding the phone. So I wanted to get him in, and I know I appreciate you, bro. And I'm gonna get you back. Lock my number in so you don't ask me who I am next time. And then I got my football buddy Robert, and y'all love to jump on me because I will promote him, I will promote his son. And again, I don't have to like the music, I don't dislike it. He's an artist. I can appreciate good art. I can appreciate differences. And it is what it is. Even if Robert wasn't my friend, I could appreciate the difference. Me and Robert, Lord knows we don't agree on everything. Trina ready to beat him up. I've been ready to beat him up. But at the end of the day, Robert, no, I'm gonna shoot him a text every now and then just to check on this brother. Even though he a trash talker, he living in the car right now. He don't want to tell y'all that, but I'm he got on look like he got on the Hawk hat. Him and Lyle, I don't know what's going on with their mind, but I'm gonna let them have that a little bit. But tell them about your show and how to find you, sir, and your music.
The show is Overflow, the Everyday People Show. We go live every Tuesday. Anybody it's a free form. You can I shoot the link out to anybody. We just chop up all kinds of subjects. We talk about everything. And I let you talk, and I let y'all talk too on my show. So, oh yeah, and y'all can find my album.
What are you trying to say?
Y'all can find my album on any platform: iTunes, Spotify. R.L. Stafford. One man, one mic, one God.
Even though he wouldn't write me no theme song. Dr. Dev, you know what I'm saying? Because I know I'm gonna have to get you back. It took me long enough to get you back for this second show. So, Dr. Dev, tell them how to find what you're doing.
I am currently a school-based mental health therapist. I do some private practice on the side. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook, Deborah Latson Burden, Burden. I will not be a burden to you. Thank you so much, DVP. At last, hit me up and let me know when you can get your backdrop, please.
All right, well, we're gonna meet up. Okay. Mr. 976, we didn't get a chance to get your question for the day, but we got you next week. Tell me what you got coming up, sir.
We've been going till 8:20, bro. Man, it's been a great show. You know, I ain't worried about the question for the day today, bro. This has been good, very informative. Yes, me, Makeup and More. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook at Makeup and More. Numbers all over my page, 770-310-3918. We're gonna have some special stuff that we got going on. But I want to say how much I appreciate the show. Although is a place for it, I do think there's levels and degrees, and I know that was Deb on the show in studio. D, did I meet her in studio?
Yeah,
one time on the show in studio.
Yeah. Yes,
right.
She came.
So I know she's in the school. I know she's in the trend. I know everything she says coming from those cases, and there's some extreme cases and some extreme abuse and stuff out there. So I know it's happening, and I just want to say I am breaking the cycle. I got a little extension cord, a little of this. I didn't really beat my kids, and I know that my son hasn't had to go through that because I already told you how he explains and little tap. It's all good, man. But it needs to be broken, and we need to break that cycle. And I appreciate all y'all.
Yeah, when we know better, we do better.
And that's got to be the martial order. So let me get to the beautiful Trina Marie, my better 2/3. Even though I'm a victim, because y'all seen a beat me on the show, but that's a whole nother story.
Stop it. Well, I'm Trina Marie, as Darren said, his better 2/3. Also owner of Little Things by Kalia. I do like custom glasses, and I got like one or two to show you. I just be drinking on my stuff. A little foggy, a little fingerprints. Don't worry about it. Don't pay no mind to that.
Dr. Deb may need a glass for her practice. Dr. Deb, that sounds good on the glass. I'm just saying.
You can find me on Facebook, it does. Trina Marie, or my page, Little Things by Kalia. I'm also on Instagram, Little Things by Kalia. That's it.
I appreciate it. And my super producer Raw, who pop in and pop out, you know, he got Lee asking for him. She don't like me and loud no more. Now she want to know what Roy got to say. So where you at, super producer?
I'm just gonna be real quick. I need my glass that I've been waiting to get for the past 6 months, but I ain't gonna say nothing about that. We in the studio now, so he got somewhere where he can actually come to. But yeah, no, we gonna have some new stuff out for y'all. I'm telling you, Trina, you actually need to come by the studio with him when he come out here. Like, you, for real, you need to come out here. Check it out.
All right, and you know, I'm DVP, host of Random Thoughts. This is what we do. We have uncomfortable conversations. We like different opinions. We like to have a good, you know, we like to share knowledge and get different opinions, and we ain't all got to agree, but it's all about sharing knowledge. Each one teaches too. And we got to start doing better, even if it means we got to make changes that we not totally comfortable with. And again, don't blame your parents for things that they didn't know no better about, but accept what it is and move forward. Most of our parents didn't mean bad. They just didn't have the resources that we got now. There's no reason we should be continuing that same cycle because of. We got to take the next step. We want our kids to be better. They got to do better. We got to stop looking to blame somebody else for everything and then yelling we grown, or my favorite, we kings and queens, but we stay victims. We always complaining. How do you fix this? How do I become better? Who do I talk to? Do I reach out to the Randers? Do I reach out to the Deb? You know, I was supposed to do this show last week, but Deborah couldn't make it. I wanted us to have an expert on here because I have my opinions, and some of my opinions are mine and they can be wrong. But as Trina Marie loved to remind me, facts are facts. Whether I like them or not, they're still facts. It may not be my truth, but it's still a fact. And the fact that we're doing this and we excuse it and we switch the topic from love to lesson shows you that you don't want to address the love issue. So let's stop calling it love. Let's call it a lesson. And when you talk to them about love, talk to them about love the next day. Don't talk to nobody about love while you're hitting them. The message doesn't translate well. It teaches them that love is painful. And that's not the message that we want to send to our kids and have them perpetuate it to the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. Because I got a bunch of guys on the show, and I'm going to say this for the ladies. Let one of our daughters talk about some guy hit her, talking about he loved her. See, we're going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, that's what we happen to us too, so it's okay. He really do love you. That ain't happening. That ain't happening because we know it's wrong. So let's just accept that and move forward. And we're going to have some more uncomfortable conversations. Let me know if y'all got something y'all want to talk about. Lee, I want to thank you for your transparency. Trina Marie, I love your transparency always. And Dr. Dale, we got some more stuff because we're going to do some more mental health stuff because it's something that we got to acknowledge. And one of the most important things is we don't realize, Trina touched on it, and I meant to say something about it then. We're giving kids PTSD, and they don't know it because we associate PTSD with adults. But it came from something. My depression came from things that happened in my childhood, not as an adult. Being an adult made it worse, but it started early. We don't accept that, and by the time they get it, it's ingrained. Trina can now look back at all the things she did with previous boyfriends. Had that been addressed earlier, she could have led a totally different life. She could have been a much better person. She's a great person now, but it's okay to want to be better. Like, damn, this could have been this. And that's what we got to accept as fact when we accept the things that go on and how we can change to become better. Trina says she's still a work in progress, as most of us are. But if you don't never admit that you're doing something that's questionable or needs revamping, you're gonna stay your course, and you're gonna pass that curse on and pass it on and pass it on. And we got to stop. So with that being said, I want to thank my guests. It was a great show. Because we almost at 8:30, and we could go on for another hour we wanted to, but we're gonna do something later on. So again, I want to thank everybody. Check out Little Things by Khalil. Get you a glass, which she got all kind of stuff going. It's this first generation. She greater at it. Now I'm gonna make up my own word. And I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Maybe. I ain't sure yet. I'm gonna let you know because like I said, we got some birthday plans coming up. So if you see us in the street and we don't speak to you, hey,
it's okay.
Mind your business.
Thank you, Trina.
Thank you, Deb.
See you all later. All right, DVP.
Y'all know what it is. Peace, popcorn, and chicken grease, and we out.